We are waiting to see what happens as these storms get closer to us, that we prepare for, obviously, for the potential for damaging weather to come into the area. Know your safety spot, know where to go if you need to get out of an area that is unsafe. So if you're in a mobile home, try to call up someone, a friend or a family member that does have a more sturdy structure you can get into, and then just kind of anchor down there for the night. Also, if you know anyone that is camping, these thunderstorms, as they're rolling in from the west, will have a tremendous amount of rainfall with them. Some of the estimates we're getting already from the data would suggest about a 2 to 3 inch rain total can easily come out of these storms. Even though they're going to be moving fast, they're putting down a lot of rainfall. And if you've already picked up a lot today, and a lot of us have, this will only make the flooding situation worse. And being at a campground, we've already seen some campers have suffered damage just from the wind alone, but obviously rising rivers is a concern. The Rough River is going up, the Green River is going up. So if you know anyone camping, make sure they are aware of what's going on, and hopefully they can get out of the camper and get into a spot, as most campgrounds do have a shelter they can get into and kind of anchor down. And again, they can watch us on streaming if they're able to do that, kind of guide them through as we head through the next few moments. I will say that we've got, again, several of these tornado warnings here off to the west. That's been our biggest concern, is how these are going to evolve as they move across areas of western Kentucky. So let me take you to a couple spots we're watching. First off, there's one supercell that is located very close here to the Owensboro area. That is one that easily can still maintain its intensity. So far, I haven't heard anything confirmed on that, but it is heading right toward, if it holds together, at the point of Hancock County, and perhaps getting awful close to Perry County, if it holds together. And this is the one that so far, you can see the debris signature showing up there, that spin. Look at that hook echo there. Ryan Hoke is watching this as well with some of this. This is around Eddyville, Kentucky, Ryan, and this has been producing some debris for a while. Do we know yet? I'm not sure if you're able to check how high that debris has been lofted or anything, or do we know at this point if this is still on the ground? What are you hearing?
Okay, so we do know this is on the ground right now because we've got the confirmation with the debris you were just talking about here. Looking literally at X or Twitter here at a large cone tornado about 20 minutes ago that this storm produced just north and east of Eddyville. That blue spot you see here, that is the debris on radar. This is a tornado emergency, which is fairly rare to get in the Commonwealth of Kentucky here. This is going to stay just north of I-69. Dawson Springs is going to get a real close shave with this. If you know anybody in Madisonville, pick up the phone. Give them a call right now. This is not a situation to kind of hem and haw, go, maybe I shouldn't, maybe they're not awake, I don't know. This is one of the most dangerous, tornado situations you're going to see in Kentucky in the peak of severe weather season here. And you see that little debris marker that's on there. That's the radar data saying, hey, this is so obvious that there is debris on radar that even I can see it, right? And that computer is not trained as well as a human eye is on that. So yes, this is a problem. We will look to see just how high up that debris has gone. I'm sure we're probably 10,000+ feet on that, the way that I've been seeing this radar signature here for quite some time. But this will likely go down as a pretty strong tornado here, Brian, the way things are trending with that particular supercell. Again, that's moving toward the Madisonville area. This is all still just not within our counties, just west of us, but we're tracking these because they're heading toward us.
Yeah, exactly, and that particular one, too, is located right at that point where there's not much really showing up that is on the south side of that. So this one has the potential to kind of steal the show, if you will, and maintain itself as it tracks just north of the Parkway. May, if it continues to hold on to that debris signature, take a little more of a right turn. So we'll keep an eye on Grayson County and just west as you head towards, say, Muhlenberg County and even parts of Ohio County as we head through the next few moments. You see another extension there of that tornado warning that's back toward areas of the Wabash. Let me put this into a loop so you get the idea of the motion. Now, I know you're seeing storms there across Lawrence County into Washington County, Indiana. These are not severe. Ryan and I were kind of looking over the data here the past hour, trying to figure out different boundaries here that these are feeding on. The official warm front is north of here, but we're thinking this is likely becoming the warm front with a little what we call an MCS, or a complex of severe thunderstorm wind that is about to develop. So this area, we'll be watching it. It will likely contain a lot of heavy rainfall. You could get some hail reports out of this that may increase if it maintains the structure across areas, again, around Lawrence County all the way into, I would say, western side of Jackson County. But we'll monitor that. At the moment, nothing severe, but a lot of lightning. I'm sure it's getting your attention there into Indiana. Louisville right now is quiet. Really, most of us and most of you that are watching, it is quiet. But boy, it is very, very noisy. Now, here is another concern that we've got as we head into this evening, as we've got these supercells that are kind of forming into one big giant line or a bowing segment. Once all of this comes together, I think the Eddyville tornado, I think it's going to be a little different. It may stay ahead of the line for a while, but the rest of these supercells are already starting to bump into one another. It's getting crowded. Now, the good news about that is you take down the hail threat and you start to reduce at least the large tornado threat. You don't get rid of the tornado threat entirely, because once these cells do indeed merge, there's a lot of twisting that goes on. So we may see an uptick in tornado warnings once they all collide here around the Evansville area, just west of Tell City and west of Jasper, Indiana. But once that happens, we enter phase 2 of this storyline. Phase 2 is going to feature a line, a very strong wind that is going to track right across, I would say, a good chunk of central Kentucky as it moves on through. We're thinking right now this area around Jasper all the way down to just where that tornado warning is. This is a corridor where the wind, once they can gel together, can easily get up to about 80 miles per hour, perhaps even a bit higher if there's a bowing segment that can work out ahead of the line. That is certainly possible, and that is going to be a very similar setup as far as the straight line wind potential damage that we saw with round 1 that we had earlier today, but coming in from a different direction. As we've mentioned, we've had a lot of rain today, so the trees, two things with that. The ground's quite saturated. You get these storms rolling through with high wind. It won't take much to get trees to begin to topple over that have a weak root structure to them, very soggy ground. They can tip over instead of snapping. So that may be a little different scenario we may face with some of the larger trees, especially as we enter this evening. And then the second thing is that more than likely we're going to end up with a little more of the trees leaning in a different direction, because the wind was coming in strong from the south this morning. There will be a different angle coming in, so the trees are kind of getting a bit of a whiplash feeling here. So that could cause some of them to cause some wind damage as it moves on by. All right, you see the latest warning there. Again, we head down to that. That's going to be just outside of our area. It's not within wave country, but that is going to tag on it for a tornado possible, which kind of mixed feeling on that. Sometimes they put that out in advance of a cell, but considering that the worst of the circulation is about to move out into Owensboro and they have a severe thunderstorm warning, that is hopefully a sign that they don't think right now it may maintain that structure, but sometimes it can be still a precursor to an upgrade later. But at the moment, Owensboro certainly getting the strongest of the wind. I don't see much of that hook as we saw earlier of it trying to wrap around a bit more, so it may be losing the structure or it could be cycling. So something to be possible, but it's about to move right over into the Ohio River eventually, and Tell City. Big heads up for you guys in general for areas around, say, Perry County, Hancock County, Kentucky, and then obviously Breckenridge County. We're watching carefully as these storms roll on by the area. There's not been a ton of lightning with some of these supercells, but more so with the main line, it certainly has quite a bit. But again, at the moment, to recap for those who just now tuning in, no warnings right now, but it is active to the west. We fully expect warnings to get issued within wave country, and severe weather, it's going to be very hard to escape that as we get into tonight. We're heading into the darkness of night. This is the most dangerous time for severe weather. Ryan Hoke, you know as well as all of us do, on tracking this kind of a setup. You get into this point in the evening here, especially after a busy day today. A lot of folks don't have power. I'm sure everyone's a little anxious and nervous. So we're just trying to put everyone's, hopefully, fears at ease. But as long as you prepare, that's step one to getting through something like tonight.
All right. When you're prepared, you can take action very quickly. Right. You won't freeze. You'll know exactly what to do here. And with so many folks without power, I want to at least evangelize a little bit our Wave Weather Now live stream. So if you've got friends or family that are sitting in the dark tonight, make sure you tell them the Wave Weather app, and that tapping Watch Live within the Wave Weather app gets you our live severe weather coverage without the need for any power. Of course, I hope that folks have charged up their phones any way they can today before these storms roll through. And speaking of charging things up, unfortunately, here in Louisville, we're still sitting at more than 33,000 customers without power. That's about 8% of tracked customers. Again, these are customers, not people, so the people number is going to be a lot larger than that. We go down to Bullitt County right now. 5,200, that's about 13% of the county. And a lot of this is near Mount Washington. Mount Washington got hit especially hard today. We had a 65-mile-per-hour wind gust report down that way when we were on the air with round 1 of storms. Hardin County, about 1,900 folks without power there. Breckenridge, 220. You get the idea. I'll do one Indiana county here, at least Clark County, about 792 people. With so many folks without power, we're heading into darkness. We've got warnings approaching from the west. It's just not a great recipe here, and we want to make sure folks are prepared. You know, get on the phone, text your relatives, text your family, make sure they know that, you know, this stuff is unfortunately about to move on in from the west, and we could be sitting on the air here for several hours with multiple warnings. The reason we're coming on so early with this is to make sure that everybody has a heads up, to get the attention out there that this could be a fairly significant night for severe weather, especially west of I-65, Brian.
Yeah, if we end up with this straight line wind unfolding, which seems to be the trend in all the data we've looked at, once that takes over, we're going to switch storylines from talking about tornado potential and looking at rotation to just a lot of straight line wind. This is all going to happen fairly quick. So once that line can start to accelerate out, that is when we're really going to see the forward speed on this kind of race from one end of wave country to the other. I know it seems kind of slow now, but we're about to fill all this in with warnings. And you notice the yellow. These are severe thunderstorm warnings. How far out in advance are being issued? That's going to be the next trend. You're going to see severe thunderstorm warnings getting way out in advance of this line, getting thrown out because it will be accelerating out there, Ryan.
I got an answer to your earlier question. Debris has gone up and touched the 30,000-foot marker on this tornado near Dawson Springs. If you were to look at the studies on that, that would potentially be a violent EF3 plus tornado down that way right now.
Not good.
Going on right
a lot of folks there in Dawson Springs. So I know a lot of people that are from there and have friends or family there. I know a lot of students when I went to Western lived there in Dawson Springs. So a lot of folks in that community. So we'll, hopefully everyone's okay and in their safe spot. But that particular supercell that Ryan's talking about is the one that is probably going to last, the way it's looking now, a bit longer as it tracks off to the east, more than likely. All right, so again, here is the line of storms we're tracking. And again, across Indiana, not exactly severe. I'll take you there in a second. But this is the one supercell that at the moment that is standing out, is jumping out ahead of the main line. Again, it's got that debris signature. And typically with these, again, if it holds onto that structure, it's going to take a little more of a northeast and eventually a little more of an east turn. We'll see how much of that angle of a clip it makes. Eventually, the line that is going to become that big wind maker here very soon is going to catch up with it because this is moving slower. I believe this is moving at about 30 or 40 miles per hour. This line is accelerating to over 60 miles per hour. And eventually, there's just a matter of fate there. They're going to be eventually combine together, producing the high wind setup. So what are we looking at on times? If you're watching along I-65, especially here into Louisville, we're still thinking as we get closer to the 11 o'clock hour to about midnight, that's when we should have warnings, at least the line bearing down on the area. It will only take, I would say, 25, maybe 30 minutes for it to pass through. If even then, it's going to be fast. But because it is fast, that's where we'll run into that high wind damage potential as it moves on through the area and then quickly races off to the east there. As we head off to the north, we're still keeping an eye on these storms again along this boundary that has been forming. It's been very slow to get them organized. I'm not complaining about that, but we need to keep an eye on these structures. They're starting to develop a little bit more of a cellular structure embedded into that line at the moment, especially around Bedford, right along 50, in fact, as you head off to the west, not too far away from Patoka Lake area. So let me kind of stop this. We'll put on some of the wind fields because that's something we're going to be watching carefully to see whether or not any of these are trying to rotate. Some weak rotation there, located just west of Spice Valley. And then in Bedford overall, that looks more like a downburst signature being noted, not really rotation. So at the moment, I do not see anything that is alarming on that side, which is good. But you guys are, again, right there on the edge of the boundary itself of that line as it's trying to lift slowly to north. I don't think it's going to go much more north than where it is there in 50. So the other issue, too, will, of course, be flash flooding that could develop because it is not going to move very much. It's attached itself already to the main line that is heading to the east. So the heads up we're giving is for a lot of folks are going to be located, again, right along the path just west of I-65. We're able to calculate that based on the speed of what will become likely the forward motion of the main line itself. Ryan Hulk has those times for some of our communities right now. What you got, Ryan?
Well, at this point, Brian, again, this is for the main line. So some folks are going to get hit by these supercells before the times that you see listed here. But the overwhelming majority of us will get hit by this main line here. And that main line will move through the Louisville area around 11:54 this evening. So we're giving you about a 2-hour heads up here. We're probably going to be on the air at least that long, if not longer. Madison, Indiana, just after midnight at 12:12. E-Town at 12:20. 21. So we're looking at somewhere during the 11 o'clock hour for areas west of Louisville. For Louisville itself, a little closer to midnight, and just after midnight if you live east of the I-65 corridor, east of the Louisville area. Again, this is a rough estimate of the main line of storms moving through. I'm going to take this off so you can see what I mean here. There are front-running supercells. You see them out here a little closer to Owensboro and once again just north and east of Eddyville. These will hit sooner, and these will hit in areas closer to Perry County and Breckenridge, Meade, and Grayson counties, potentially well before the 11 o'clock hour here. Hence why we're on the air at 9:46 p.m. because during the 10 o'clock hour, it may get very active within our counties west of Louisville, Brian.
Yeah, I just saw a statement coming from the Weather Prediction Center just saying flash flooding likely, just kind of highlighting what we've already been telling you guys, that as this moves through here, we're going to get more and more reports of that. If you are working this holiday weekend, second or third shift, just please use some extra caution traveling out there. Now that we're into nighttime, you're obviously not going to be able to see how deep the water is, especially if you're traveling a road you're not accustomed to. Don't risk it. Just make that decision and turn back around once again. Some of the first areas we'll be watching for warnings will likely be Du Bois County, perhaps even Perry and Breckenridge. That looks to be the spot we may get a few of the first warnings come out. So far, again, these across Lawrence County into Jackson into northern Washington have not gotten quite to that level yet. And we'll be watching that. More than likely, this is, again, going to hold steady as the main line pushes through. And you kind of get the idea when this begins to animate how this is all coming together, almost as like three different storylines, and in reality it is. You've got a massive supercell located not far from Dawson Springs. You had a former supercell that's trying to hold on as its own, but it's about to lose the fight. It's about to get absorbed completely into the actual line itself. And then you've got another boundary located along US 50. These tornado warnings are going to be along the line. This is going to be a bit of a common theme. They're not going to be worded more than likely as intensely as you're going to get with, say, a supercell that's around Dawson Springs. They're going to be a little faster on developing. They won't last as long, but a tornado is a tornado. I totally understand that, but they're a little harder to detect because they're embedded into the line. This is much easier for us to track, but along that line, it's going to be much more of a challenge. But I can't run a few tornado warnings that could easily get issued. No doubt, the rain has certainly increased there along that northern boundary there across areas of Lawrence County to Jackson. So again, they're getting very close here, I'm sure, to deciding what to do with any kind of a warning lineup with that initial round. But for those of you, I would say in southern Kentucky, whether it's E-Town, Litchfield, over toward Campbellsville, and Greensburg, you got a bit more time before you get into this mess, more than likely, especially around Bardstown and Gravel Switch, Lebanon, Kentucky, Columbia, even Shelbyville. Your timing will likely be after midnight before you have to deal with this mess, but certainly a lot sooner if you're west of I-65, and Louisville will be likely right there on the edge of that as it moves on by the area. So let me show you the live look again. This is into New Albany, where again we've got that wind trying to pick up a bit more. Can't really see much in the camera because it is the darkest of night. And right now we do not have any warnings on this list, but some of the warnings that may show up as we evolve here for the next few hours will likely be flash flood warnings, Ryan.
Yes, and that's because the ground is so saturated. You know, we had the big round of storms this morning, and that round of storms especially targeted southern Kentucky. You may have heard us talking about this a little earlier here, but look at Munfordville. That's 1 1/3 inches of rain that they've had in the last 24 hours. Litchfield, 1 1/4 inches. E-Town, 1 1/10 roughly. And we've got close to 1 inch of rain from Lebanon to Campbellsville. And this is just from this morning's storms. Now, also think back to this week. It stormed at least twice over much of our area here. The ground is saturated, so it's not going to take much to get flash flood warnings. We may get into a situation where we have quite a few flash flood warnings, believe it or not, that go on for several hours at a time here. I'm going to zoom us into the Louisville metro area here with these MSD rain gauges here. You'll see about 1/4 inch to 1/3 inch. Some folks in west parts of Jefferson County here, a little closer to Portland near Russell, about 0.49. That's about 1/2 inch there. And into southern Indiana, Sellersburg, about 1/3 inch. So we're already, sitting on saturated ground, and to add in some of these crazy torrential rainfall rates that we're going to see from some of these storms tonight, and potentially have that for, several hours, because there will be some rain on the backside of this as well, is not going to be a good situation. So we always say turn around, don't drown. Nighttime flooding is a huge killer. It's hard to see how deep floodwater water is even during the daytime. At night, it's impossible. So that's why we want to, get this message out there before we get into sort of the tornado and the wind threat here, that the flooding threat is going to be there regardless of what happens with those other two threats, Brian.
All right, Ryan, they just issued a statement not long ago from the Storm Prediction Center, so I don't know if you want to take a look at that while I go through the radar, and we'll come back to you in a second. Maybe we'll be able to map the area that they were discussing. But again, at the moment, we are just on the edge of getting into warning status. It is a Saturday. Is it Saturday or Sunday? It's a Sunday.
It's Sunday.
It's been a long few days. It's a Sunday night, holiday weekend. We're right now, NBC is doing different types of alternate programming reruns because of the delay today of the Indy 500, which got through completely, so that was good. But because of that, you're not really missing anything on the TV side. So we just want to make sure that we are trying to do our best to keep you guys informed of what is evolving as we head through tonight, because we want to get your attention before you head to bed and make sure you're aware of where we stand, because I know there's a lot of noise about how this has been evolving in the past few days and how it would evolve with this third and final round that we've been tracking here today move through. The first one was the straight line wind that moved through today, producing the wind gusts of 62 miles per hour in Louisville, about 65 into Mount Washington. One person was killed today in Louisville from the high winds that we had that came through the area. A lot of tree damage, a lot of you without power. So it's already been a very rough setup today. So we know that everyone's anxiety is running a bit high. So we're not trying to add to it. We're trying to calm it the best we can by at least trying to explain what's going on and kind of give you an idea of times and impacts as we head into the overnight. And you can tell by looking at this is certainly going to impact different folks at different times as it moves into the area as these storms evolve. But again, most of this is going to be just weak tornadoes still. Tornado's a tornado, don't get me wrong, that would try to form along this line with a straight line wind threat. But it's right here just east of that supercell in Dawson Springs that the environment is relatively untouched, especially just east, or just west, excuse me, of I-65 seems to be where we're most concerned. All right, they now added Du Bois into the severe thunderstorm warning, so let's get right into that. We'll cover it real quick, and then we'll get over to Ryan with an update on the latest on that statement there from the Storm Prediction Center itself. And it's trying to go. There it goes. Sorry about that. I'm a short person, so it takes a while to kick in. All right, there it is. Severe thunderstorm warning. Du Bois, Hancock, and Perry counties are included in that, and they did put tornado possible. But look at the wind speed. They're going with that at 70 miles per hour. There's nearly 48,000 people right now on the path of this. So this is the reason why this is a severe thunderstorm warning, but it has a cautionary statement to it that could easily be upgraded to a tornado warning for those that are right around Jasper, Ferdinand, all the way down to Tell City. And it's really a combination of two things. One, a weakening supercell heading into Perry, and then you've got the line that is right behind that is producing, obviously, these stronger storms moving in from the west. All right, Ryan, you've had a moment. Take a look at that statement. What did they say about the tornado potential?
Yeah, at this point, they say a strong tornado risk over the next 1 to 2 hours. And this goes all the way into Breckenridge and Grayson counties and southern parts of Perry County as well. They say isolated supercells are in a favorable environment for an intense tornado. Obviously, we have already seen that. What's happening is there is a boundary that is left behind from old storms today, that these storms are kind of favoring riding along here. And as that happens, they're going to be able to, at least for a bit of time, be able to stay in more of an individualized nature. That's why this sort of Eddyville to Dawson Springs, Princeton tornado right here exists in the first place. The storm has been able to stay in its own environment, not be disturbed by any storm south of it. You need that warm flow from the Gulf of Mexico straight into it in order for it to produce a very strong, damaging tornado like it's doing right now with the tornado emergency there near Dawson Springs. But these storms to the north, it'll be interesting to see as they're starting to form on their own boundary. These supercells have all kind of coalesced together into a line here. Will that line kind of eat up that supercell? Will this supercell do the whole tail end Charlie thing where it stays as a supercell kind of on the bottom edge of a line of storms as it rides into Grayson and Breckenridge? A lot of questions over the next 1 to 2 hours, and you see already new severe thunderstorm warnings just west of our area for that line that I was just talking about, those former supercells that are getting all meshed together, Brian.
Yeah, once again, Owensboro reissued again into that warning. So here's the thing. We do not have official tornado warnings yet within wave country, but I got a feeling we're going to get something like that to at least get issued on the warning side. So whether it's a tornado warning or a high wind event for straight line winds like we saw today, same idea on safety I want you guys to keep in mind. Get into the lowest level. Obviously, a basement's great, but not everyone has that option. But the lowest level is step number one. Once you get into the lowest level, get into the environment where you're away from windows. An interior room. Bathrooms are very common to not have any windows in them, and they're usually in the middle of the apartment or the house. So get into that middle. Make sure to keep as much space as you can from you and the outside world and walls as you possibly can. Put on some shoes if you can. Make sure in case there's any glass that gets broken or you have to walk out and look at damage later in the middle of the night and you don't know where your shoes are. You don't be walking around barefoot. So put the shoes on just in case. Make sure the kids are all right. Give them a video game to play or something to kind of distract them, and get the family pets there as we evolve into this evening. And as soon as we get warnings out, we'll give you a heads up and say, hey, just FYI, for those of you that are in a particular county, you need to go ahead and get into your safe spot right away, as now we're into that status. All right, so let's get you back to the radar. And again, there's it's a big conglomerate of warnings because, again, there's so many things happening here. But at the moment, we just got Jasper and Perry within wave country here that are under the severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible. And as I mentioned, I think we're going to see more of these get extended a little more here to the east. So we're likely to get another little arc of warnings that will come out well in advance of this. So some of these warnings, I believe some that Ryan and Tawana were tracking earlier today were over an hour long in duration. And I think we'll see a similar setup on, especially when the line begins to bow out, we're going to see a similar setup on some of these timings. So the Weather Service, there's high awareness on this event, has been all week, more than a week actually. So every Weather Service office, whether it's in Indianapolis, Louisville, or Paducah, or even St. Louis, they're all working together, coordinating on how to get all these warnings out in time. They're the ones that issue them. We relay them. We try to help pass that message along and do our own analysis at the same time of how these are going to evolve. Again, I know it's storming right now across areas of Jackson County into Lawrence County, Indiana, but nothing severe. This is right across an area at the moment that is not exactly favorable for a lot of development, so they'll stay relatively quiet there for a bit longer, with mainly just some downburst winds and lightning, maybe some small hail. I wouldn't rule it out. But at the moment, Louisville's quiet as well. Again, we're thinking it's 10 o'clock, almost 10 o'clock. I would say about 90 minutes looks to be fair, maybe less than that, that we will start to get some of this action a little closer into at least the metro area. Still getting that debris, though, showing up across areas of West Kentucky as you head toward Dawson Springs. You can see it there showing on that spin. It's not as well defined as it was earlier, getting a little more rain wrapped into this area, and don't see as a definitive hail core. Actually, there's two different notches that are beginning to show up on this one, so we may have more than one spin. Okay, that was the statement about the other one located up here to the north.
Santa Claus, Indiana is under a tornado warning with a tornado observed tag on it right now.
That's important to know. A lot of
appendage
folks
right into there. Yeah.
I don't know if they're still open this late or not. I doubt they would be with the storm threat. They usually are pretty aware of all that and get everyone out of the park before they get to that level. So let me kind of back you up a little bit as we head back to the, I'll get back to the east here. All right, here is the Santa Claus, Indiana area. And again, it's right on the edge of that warning. So there's that severe thunderstorm warning that encompasses the Santa Claus area. And then you got, of course, the tornado warning right on the edge of it as well, moving on through. So kind of a mess as it kind of evolves. Let's look at some of the wind fields on this across areas, again, in southwest Indiana as you travel near Ferndale, around just south of 64 near Santa Claus. The only thing we see right now, it's got a little bit of rotation, is on the southern flank of that as you get closer to the Ohio River. Look at that wind field not too far away to the west of Owensboro. That really gets our eye, and certainly a lot of intense wind along I-69 there as you head into Indiana, just outside of our area as well.
And that's near Barton, Indiana. That's quite a notch, by the way, up that way. That is something else. So we'll have to watch that, especially for like Du Bois here coming up shortly, as that starts to kind of dance along I-64 toward us.
All right, so again, here are the wind fields. This is just telling us the general wind idea. Green is where the wind is blowing toward the radar beam. In this case, our radar that we're using for this particular moment is at Fort Knox. Red is the wind blowing away from it. So it tells us right now we do have a southwest wind blowing to the northeast into the viewing area. And then again, you get, when we see these kind of get flip-flopped around or end up in an odd pattern, that's when it tells us that the storm is rotating and things begin to change for us fairly quick there. Let me get you back to the radar portion of this and kind of play it out for you guys as we're again tracking this. It's now 10 o'clock You're watching Wave here as we're doing our extended coverage on a busy night here on this Sunday night, as we've had severe weather. It's been happening in phases today. This morning it started right out of the gate, especially around the noon hour. We had intense lightning and thunderstorms, widespread wind damage. 181 reports, in fact, of wind and or structural damage that took place today as those strong storms moved out, and they're way to our east now. But we had the sun come back out at the last minute. That was just enough of a kick that the atmosphere needed.
Tornado warning for Du Bois.
All right, see it there. I think you appreciate it. And again, it's right on the eastern side of that. Let's kind of bring that in full screen. I'll give you some of the stats on it. Again, this is the tornado warning right into the point where it does include the Jasper area, and it looks like it is radar indicated. Yeah, radar indicated for Du Bois. 25,000 people right there in that path of that. Expires at 45 minutes after the hour. So Huntingburg, Du Bois itself, heading just west of Paducah Lake area, and Birdseye. That is where, again, we have potentially some of that intense weather coming in from the west there that is likely going to at least keep the idea alive that there could be a potential tornado that would drop out of these cells as we move on by. Let me animate this again because it is starting to really congeal together, all these different cells, and it makes it very complex. Remember these cells I mentioned across areas? Let me put the pen back on. The areas right there with the cells dropping in out of Indiana, you have that situation with embedded rotation within it. Ryan was showing you some of that really intense rotation that was located there just near I-69. And then we also have these supercells that are trying to form their own separate line away from the main line, but they're all trying to congeal together. And this is where I think we're going to get a few more tornado warnings that could get issued right at that merging point as that swings on by. So again, a big heads up for Lawrence County, Orange, Crawford, parts of Perry, the rest of Perry that's not under a warning, Breckenridge, Hancock counties down to western side there of Grayson County, because this whole mess, it only has one way to go, and that's to the east. And that's heading right into to wave country. We are still looking at the idea that once it crosses 65, we should see a weakening trend. But if they really get some momentum to them and start really accelerating, it won't really matter as much, because in this kind of a situation, you can carry on that straight line wind threat longer than even with the rain and lightning decreasing. You can hold on to it a bit more to the east, Ryan.
Okay, so these tornado warnings out to our west, not necessarily the one down near Dawson Springs at this time, but associated with the line of storms that's moving toward Du Bois County. These are very evident on velocity where you can see the rotation. Oftentimes in these what we call QLCS events, where you have a line of storms with little meso tornadoes, little small tornado signatures in them, you can barely see them. These are very evident tonight, and these are crossing the I-69 corridor near Linville, Indiana right now, pretty much just north of I-64. So if you're in Ferdinand, if you're in Jasper, now's the time to be in your tornado safe place here. Technically not in our viewing area, but we do serve those folks, of course, on social media and live streaming here. So make sure you take your tornado precautions. It is time. We've got the rotation on radar out there. And one thing I did want to check up on for folks who may have interest down in, of course, near Dawson Springs here, just east of Dawson Springs, and this is going to be starting to head a little closer to Madisonville and Central City, is the wind velocity north and east of Dawson Springs. That is one of the strongest wind velocity signatures for a tornado you will ever see on radar.
What are we getting as speeds on that?
Yeah, and the speed, I was actually getting ready to query that. You literally read my mind here.
And it looks like it's rain wrapped too.
It likely is, because there's just a ton, 113 miles per hour gate-to-gate shear on that. That does not equate, by the way, to true tornado wind speed, but that gives you at least the rotational speed within the cloud, and what could be happening down at ground level may be different than that, maybe worse, maybe better. But nonetheless, as a new scan comes in there, I mean, this is probably one of the worst that we've seen in Kentucky in modern radar era history here. 112 miles per hour gate-to-gate shear on that. So if you know folks in Central City, if you know folks in Madisonville, our plea from earlier still stands. Give them a call. Now's the time. Make sure that they know what's going on.
Warning that just got extended pretty far to the east now. So Central City is included.
Yep.
Now, is this going to be a tornado emergency, or is this just a PDS or a particularly dangerous situation? Ryan, I'm not sure if you can check.
Yep, I can check right now. We're querying this now, and right now it says large and extremely dangerous confirmed tornado here near Morton's Gap. Let's see, radar confirmed tornado. I'm looking for that special wording there that we were talking about. It just says tornado damage threat is considerable. They do not have the PDS in here that I can see. Oh, there it is. There is a this is a particularly dangerous situation. So that is a PDS tornado warning, just like it was before, very similar to a tornado emergency, if you will, if not still one, moving into Central City, Kentucky.
Yeah, population matters on the emergency part. That has a bit of a different tag, which it had as it was a little closer to Eddyville area. So there's still a chance it gets into Central City that could be upgraded to a tornado emergency. But still, this is a very dangerous cell that, by all accounts, based on that velocity that Ryan was showing me, bring that up again, that this more than likely is a very large wedge type tornado that is on the ground that we're tracking. And again, it's not within wave country, but boy, this is one that there's just not much to stop it. And that's the concerning part, is it still will want to track off to the east at a pretty good clip and still cause problems for us, even as it gets a little closer into wave country. So there's that velocity. So we mentioned earlier about how, again, the greens and the reds certainly tell us the storyline of which way the wind is blowing. Well, this certainly tells us there's an obvious spin that is happening here just north of I-69, just south of Madisonville. And if it remains a strong tornado, you can see the tornado warning itself is a little more horizontal, heading more east and west instead of a northeast track. So it may start here tracking very close to 69 as it heads right into Central City. And they're fairly confident, more than likely, this is going to be the case because that warning goes so far out, all the way up along the Western Kentucky Parkway itself, heading awful close as you get into a little closer anyway to wave country here very soon. If it continues, it'll be getting just within minutes of getting to the Grayson County border there. So that's still our main focal point as far as we know a tornado that's on the ground. More than likely, this thing is causing issues with debris and damage in the area. We can certainly see that. It is certainly doing that. So it's picked up something, and it has for a while. It's still lofted around. It can sometimes do that for a long period of time, especially when Ryan was saying this is up to about nearly 30,000 feet up. Sometimes that debris can be carried over for miles and miles and miles, even after it will begin to weaken, Ryan.
Okay, we've got a new update from the Storm Prediction Center here. I'm talking to you folks in Shelby, Franklin, Henry, Trimble, Jefferson County, Indiana, and of course Carroll County in Kentucky. You guys are not under a watch right now, but a watch is likely here. They're probably going to continue that tornado watch downstream to include you folks there a little closer to Lexington, just because it looks like these storms are going to march right on through the Louisville area and perhaps continue to pose a threat, even though it might be a slightly weaker threat east of I-65 to those areas a little closer to eastern Kentucky. So if you're not in a watch right now, you may be under one here in very short order, Brian.
All right, so just about everybody watching. All right, now it's being impacted here by severe weather at some point as we head into the overnight hours. All right, let's get you back to the radar, and I want to bring up again, we're talking about into Jasper, Indiana. I don't want to ignore you guys because we obviously have this massive supercell and tornado that's on the ground here, but we're also keeping an eye on what evolves as these storms move out of southwest Indiana and move right into Du Bois County. At the moment, I know it's fairly quiet for you guys, but it's going to be once that line gets a little closer to you, that's where problems may start to show up. So the Weather Service is trying to just give us a big heads up on this as it moves on by. So far, most of the actions to the south. In fact, it's not even raining right now into Jasper. But this is the line we're going to be watching as it begins to approach from the west, producing that potential for a quick spin up that can develop. You see that wall of wind, and anywhere you get these little notches, once we get into more of that straight line wind threat, it's still potential for a tornado that can develop, but we got to look a little carefully to pick that out more than we normally would. It's a little more of a challenge, and it's a tough one for the Weather Service as well. But when you get these little notches, you can usually get these little quick spins that can develop as they move on by. And again, they're usually wrapped up into rain, so it's a bit of a challenge too on picking them out as we move into the area. So Jasper, I hope you guys, Du Bois County in general, I hope you are in your safe spot, ready to go as these storms will be approaching you. Even without a tornado threat, these things are going to have a lot of wind with them as they move in. As we've mentioned, the signal we keep getting is that the wind field is going to continue to enhance as these get better organized and head rapidly off to the east. And I don't know what the speed was in the most recent motion, but I'm sure it's got to be over the 60 mile per hour range as far as its speed, basically doing the speed limit there on 64, heading eastbound and will likely exceed it in a big way as we head into this evening. So this is a bit concerning as well, located, I would say, just to the west of Paoli. We'll be watching to see how this merger goes on here. If you look carefully, there's still a bit of a disconnect that is happening here. This line hasn't fully combined yet into one single one. So because it is a messy combination, we're still going to get these rotating supercells that are trying to hold on to their structures as they still move across areas of southwest Indiana. And that's going to be a concern for the next, I would say, 1 to 2 hours, especially, Ryan.
Okay, Davis County, Indiana, Knox County, Indiana. This is just north and east of Monroe City, Indiana. This is not imminently going to hit our counties yet, but there is a debris signature on radar here tracking toward I-69. This is just west of Barr, Indiana here. You can see US 50. If you were to follow US 50, you'd go and hit Bedford up that way. So this is not too crazy far from us, but it's often very difficult to see these tornadoes within these lines of storms, as we were explaining earlier. You'll see here that the rotation is definitely there, but it's not quite as clear as if you put on the actual debris product there. And boy, that yellow dot really stares at you there. So that's been on the radar for at least a few scans now. So not only do we have tornadoes embedded, likely within this line of storms now moving through, but we're also able to see the debris in them as well. And to see that in a line like that, that's pretty significant, Brian.
Yeah, let me know if you hear anything from the Weather Service office there out of, I think Paducah controls that one, what they're hearing as that rolls on through. We don't get a lot of reports in this section of Indiana usually because you get into much more of the Hoosier National Forest, more of a wooded area. So that's one of the challenges that Louisville Metro has always had, is that a lot of our reports get delayed because of that delayed impact on storms rolling through.
It says right now that they have standstill traffic in West Davis County, high winds, torrential rainfall, zero visibility. So you're not going to be able to see any of this evening as these storms move in. That's why when you're under a warning, you stay inside in this situation. Yeah,
I know we've had a lot of storm chasers everywhere across the country the past several weeks. There's a lot out there today. I really hope that even they are taking this seriously and trying to stay out of the way of this mess, because you just can't see anything. And as they get more rain wrapped, as they are likely already doing here, it just becomes very, very dangerous. That's the reason why we're not out trying to chase these or anything. We're just trying to make sure everyone's aware. The other challenges too, all we got is radar data for a while to go with here. So we're taking the data we're looking at, trying to relay it, what it means for everyone downstream of all of this across Indiana and central Kentucky as this moves on through. As again, we do have a tornado watch out for us. I know that Ryan was mentioning one to the east. We have one for the rest of us too, officially till 2 o'clock in the morning. I think we only have 3 counties then to the north that are just under a severe thunderstorm watch into Indiana, which is a bit odd. I think everyone should be under tornado watch at this point. But anyway, this again will be racing here to the east. I think the last speed I just saw there was 65 miles per hour is the motion that they have. So again, they're moving the speed limit along the interstate, quickly heading. We don't really want this to merge too much more than what it is now. If it continues to do that, that's where you're going to get more of an apex that is going to develop, and that is where you're going to see much more of a straight line wind. All right, so it looks like a tornado, or the severe thunderstorm warning as with a tornado possible, I believe, on that. Yes, a tornado possible. This is going to be for Jennings, or excuse me, into Lawrence County, into Indiana. All right, so here's Bedford, and there's that cell that Ryan was talking about that it was showing that debris signature around the Barr community. So that's just west. This is where Ryan was pointing out. So that is the cell that we're going to be watching as it advances. But again, I think their concern here with this is really because of the boundary, the way it's laid out in this area. You're going to get much more of a issue of isolated tornadoes are going to develop there as this line kind of moves along. This one here is going to stay relatively stationary. This line is going to chug along it, and as it does so, you're going to get a rotation that will develop. So heads up there for Lawrence County, even northern Paoli or into Orange County, and then the western side of Jackson. Just kind of a heads up, we'll be watching this section, this corner here of this line, which is the northern part of the entire complex of storms there. Ryan?
Okay, Knox County, Indiana, associated with that tornado just west of Barr there. A tree has fallen on a home and occupants are inside, unfortunately. So we're already getting some pretty intense damage reports there. And we continue to watch this tornado. It is still on the ground. It is still a tornado emergency. This is going to pass just south of Madisonville, Kentucky, north of Nortonville. Central City is in a very precarious position when these tornadoes are on the ground like this in an environment like this, despite sunset happening hours ago. This thing's going to chug probably right on into Central City and may start to chug a little closer to our counties. Grayson and Breckenridge, you folks need to be on standby. It's going to take some time, but my goodness, the threat is considerable.
All right, we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued. This is, again, an extension of what we've had already this evening. We're going to see this happen many times. All right, so here's the latest one. This is going to be for Crawford County, Perry County area, northwest side side here of Meade County and Breckinridge County. Let me get the banner out there so you can see. There we go. This is, again, a tornado possible is the tag on this. Just because of the environment that we're in here, that potential is there. The second threat is going to be the damaging winds, straight line winds that could easily get up to 70 miles per hour or even a bit higher, and even some hail, although I haven't really seen much in the way of hail reports at all out of this. So this right now is a severe thunderstorm warning. They're talking about heading off to the east at a pretty good clip. That should expire. Let me get this warning on, actually. Hold on one second, because this is the one that we need to watch.
While you're doing that, it's a 55 mile per hour forward speed on that new warning there. It goes until 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Again, that's the one for parts of Meade, Breckinridge, Perry, Southern Crawford, and it, of course, does have that quarter-size hail, 60 mile per hour wind designation on it as well there, Brian.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. Let me try to get that queried here. Hold on. There we go. Again, that would be Du Bois. A lot of boxes popping up. All right, there it is again. Meade County into Breckinridge County and Perry County. This will be out until the top of the hour. So this is a little different wording on this. So this one does not have the tornado possible on that one. So kind of a correction there. But this will go into the top of the hour, 10 local time or 11 o'clock. Eastern time as we're watching for that one. Right now within our particular scope, we're looking at about 210 lightning strikes in general just for this complex alone. It's really the same storyline too. Again, this was a tornadic supercell at one point that is right over Tell City. That is weakened, but it is still allowing for a bit of an apex here. This is the one that still has the 70 mile per hour wind potential with it. It wouldn't surprise me that could cause an upgrade that would eventually happen for areas of Ohio County and eventually into Breckinridge and Hancock if that holds together. So we'll be waiting to see if that's indeed the case as it moves on by there to the east. So we got a few warnings to talk about. Let me just go through that real quick. Let me show you first off. There's that SkyTruck camera into New Albany. Let me get you into the latest here on the big board, and this is where we've got at the moment within our area: Crawford, Breckinridge, and Meade, all the way into the top of the hour. I know we don't have Du Bois listed there, but that was until about 45 minutes, I believe, after the hour for the one there into Du Bois. So that's the main line that we're tracking heading off to the east. Louisville's still on target to get into the 11 o'clock hour midnight time period as when we should start to see these thunderstorms fly into the area. I mean, quick scan here of the wind fields, as again, that's our main concern we're going to have, not only for straight line winds, but in some cases getting some spin that gets certainly developed. You can sort of see that there. It's right on the edge of the radar beam from Fort Knox, but certainly just even looking at the light shade of blue that is located here across areas of southwest Indiana, that in itself tells us there's quite a bit of wind that is even just straight line wind that is pushing rapidly right there into the Du Bois County area. So we'll see what happens as that advances to the east, and then you see those notches that try to form a little further down the line there. So kind of a mess. It really is as it tracks off to the east. I'm hoping this will end up weakening, or we don't get the reality of what the environment is allowing for some of these storms to have that potential for. I hope so, because we've already had a rough day, but we just can't take that risk in a setup, especially at night. We got to make sure you guys are aware of it. Get in your safe spot, get ready. Looks like there was a bit of an adjustment there in one of those warnings, but we'll be watching it. Ryan, you got an update there?
Quick update on this big tornado that's on the ground right now in parts of western Kentucky. This was near Dawson Springs earlier, Eddyville earlier. It is now near the community of Earlington, Kentucky, and we're really seeing the rotation on this kind of pull back in a big way. So this may be trying to either do one of two things: either cycle and there would be a new area of rotation, or two, because of what's going on with the actual structure of this supercell, so much rain getting wrapped into it, it may be getting choked off, which would be a good thing to hopefully end that tornado. We will see what's going on there. But Brian, that's still a very formidable situation for areas near Central City. I know folks may have some friends and neighbors right along the Western Kentucky Parkway there, so still give them a call. Let them know what's going on.
All right, you see that core of the lightning, too, being found, and quite a bit of what we call the anvil head, just overshooting that way off to the east there. This is a large system. It's probably up there about 50 to 60,000 feet. At the moment. Okay, so the warnings we got, to kind of recap, we got the Lawrence County warning we're watching, a few embedded tornado warnings around areas of Jasper, and again, so far there, we don't have anything that looks overly threatening right now for Du Bois County. It's just that potential is there that we could get some type of a spin up that can develop. Right now, it mainly just looks like strong winds moving into the area, but it won't take much to get things to spin on a line like this, especially with a lot of merging cells. So this is still mainly a precautionary setup that there could be a brief tornado that can develop. Either way, you're still going to get a lot of strong wind, all right, when that moves into Du Bois County. Then you see the apex of the words is trying to connect. We're waiting to see how that evolves here the next 1 to 2 hours especially. And then as we head down to the southwest, that's when we got the supercell that's in advance of that line. Louisville right now is quiet. Central Kentucky is quiet. We do not have warnings close to the metro right now. It's just to the west of us. And then again, they're racing now at about 65 miles per hour.
All right, US 231 there in Du Bois County. This is Jasper. This is Huntingburg. It's go time for you folks. We've got the winds moving in at 72 to 74 miles per hour, queried via radar. This is not what's being seen at ground level, by the way, but at least, you know, a couple thousand feet above your head there. Those winds are screaming at that speed, and they could get channeled down to the surface here, and you would see those damaging wind gusts. So
it looks like we just got a 50 that was measured in Ireland.
Okay, so 50. Okay. So that's actually what's being measured at the ground right now. These are radar indicated speeds, so the core of the wind now moving through Du Bois County.
All right, and it's going to be accelerating too, by the way. So that's the reason why, again, you're going to see all these warnings get really lengthy on how they're drawn on this map as it moves on by. It's interesting to watch the cell too down to the southwest, the supercell that is around not too far away from Central City at the moment, how it evolves, especially just ahead of the main line, because this was the area that the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center were kind of highlighting as a concern that we could end up with more of a additional strong tornado threat there. So that's something we'll be waiting to see if that's indeed the trend. It's still so far is just out in advance of it, hasn't fully connected to that line just yet. But there's no doubt if this can try to bow out more, and that signal is there, that it's wanting to do that. And once that all happens, and that's where you're going to run into the straight line wind that is going to get up there above 70 miles per hour as these race off to the east. That's going to be our biggest concern there. All right, let's see. Let's look that's another tornado warning. That's just north, okay, into Martin County, Indiana. I was kind of just scanning through that real quick. In Louisville, again, if that apex can bow out, Ryan, there is a chance that this section of the line, just because the way the configuration is going to get here faster than really in some parts of Indiana.
Yes.
We may end up with storms in Louisville before Indiana and areas south of Louisville will actually get. So kind of an odd setup there.
It is an odd setup, yeah. And I'm going to put sort of a tracker on here so that you can see what exactly we're seeing in terms of timing here in Louisville. This would be at the latest getting in here closer to 11:30 this evening. Now notice that's a few minutes faster than what we said earlier. So these storms are accelerating. Bedford, Indiana, of course, you folks are already seeing some thunderstorms, but the main line would be a little closer to 11:50 or 10:59, I should say there. Seymour, 11:43 p.m. So these are the updated times that we are seeing for these storms to arrive. And a few places may have these a little bit earlier with this little front-running batch here that we've got the warning for out near Du Bois and Perry counties at this time.
All right, thanks, Ryan, because those times are important and crucial, so we appreciate that. That's going to be our key as we get into this evening as these evolve quickly off to the east. We're still, again, I think the 11 o'clock, I don't know if we're going to have 11 o'clock news tonight. I think we're going to be still covering this with the warnings passing through the way it's looking. But let me kind of get you back to the home view and kind of scan through this and kind of do just a quick recap, because I know a lot of you are either have been trying to enjoy part of your plans here for this holiday weekend. I understand that. Or you're trying to take up some of the tree damage you may have in your yard today, and you're coming in from the evening, you're like, oh no, are you kidding me? We're doing this again. It's a little bit different angle of how these are approaching. These are coming more from the west than from the southwest, so that's a bit of an odd setup there. And we have a little bit more of a tornado threat with these segments versus what we had before into this morning's round. I don't like that Boeing segment there, just southwest of Bedford, Indiana. So let me kind of focus in on that real quick, because that is where we'll be tracking as it evolves in the next few moments, moving out. That particular warning, I kind of pan this back over a little more, and that was the one that was actually near Barr. That Brian was showing, had that tornado warning. Now it looks like it's trying to gust out. Again, this is that little notch, that little boxed area that just is not a good area you want to be in this setup. This is not a favorable environment to have things weaken. This actually will cause a strengthening. So I got a feeling we're going to get even more wind reports come out of this line as it moves on by, and still get a brief tornado that can develop on the leading edge of that as it scans quickly there off to the east. So you guys into Lawrence County, Indiana, just be ready as some strong winds may be coming your way with that, Ryan. Are you seeing the same thing out of that segment from Barr?
Yeah, near Barr right now, this is a huge problem. On the radar, we're seeing these very bright colors, and if I query them here, you'll get a sense of my goodness, 82 mile per hour winds. This is radar indicated. This is not being detected by like folks on the ground at this point, but that is the potential to be seeing out of that. 74 mile per hour winds. So I've done 2 pixel queries there. Each of these little dots is a pixel and it represents a wind speed. So we're able to kind of see what the wind speed is. And of course, your eye may be drawn to this little guy up here near Odin, Indiana. This is just east of Vigo, Indiana. And that is what's causing the tornado warning that's just south of Furnace, Indiana at this point. And that's just west of Lawrence County there. That rotation probably going to move into Odin. It's getting ready to cross I-69. This has been the day of tornadoes crossing interstates, Brian, and I think we're getting ready to see potentially another one happen down that way. One thing I do want to do before I toss it back to you, though, is look at the debris signature. It's kind of inconclusive, but it may very well be there that we're seeing a little bit of debris on radar. It has to be like at the exact same point where you're seeing that couplet, seeing a little bit of a drop there. So inconclusive at this point, but it may very well be at the ground, on the ground level.
Okay, and remind me again, it's a video from where that we're getting?
This is video from out west in western Kentucky. I've got it right here. Fredonia, Kentucky,
okay.
5 to 6 miles south of Fredonia, Kentucky.
And this is recent?
This is from Mark Wilson, our own photographer here, chasing out in western Kentucky. And
yeah,
that is
that funnel.
Yes, that is the storm of the day right there.
All right.
From Mark Wilson.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mark. He's out there trying to help us out and getting some video back to us and chasing. There's that leading edge. There's the video again. And this is, in what county was that in that he was chasing in? From earlier today. Let me know when you get a chance, so we'll come back to it. There's that, again, leading edge just east of Barr.
Caldwell County, by the way.
Caldwell County. That was the one that really was the strong signature that eventually has led to what is happening in Central City and moving into Muhlenberg County and Ohio counties here very, very soon. Okay, let me get you back to the wider view. Hold on one second. Get you back, and you can see again, now we got these pockets of strong wind and rotation. These little notches that are showing up, one there. Got one that, this is still, it looks to be just a very much a straight line wind threat heading into central areas of Du Bois County. We've got reports of at least one tree down that's located near Huntingburg, near the water treatment plant. And there are some power outages, too, being reported there into Huntingburg. Not surprising. We've only had one measured gust so far at 50 miles per hour into Ireland. I got a feeling, though, we're going to get additional reports here very soon, especially as it's crossing over Huntingburg here very soon. We should get those reports coming into play. And then we got more, these pockets of blue indicating get some more of these notches that are showing up, pockets of strong wind that at times can create a spin up. And then you get into the main system itself. There's the main supercell that is located there across areas of southern Kentucky. Southwest Kentucky, heading to the east. So kind of zoom in on that, get into a better focal point. Hold on one second. Let me zoom in a little more. And that is the one that we've been tracking. It's been a long tracked tornado, although I haven't seen any updates on this.
It looks like it may have occluded, by the way.
Yeah, I don't really see that signature anymore. It looks like the rear flank draft, as we call that, is taken over and swung around. So now we're just getting mainly straight line winds out of this. This is a good thing. This is not a bad thing. Still a lot of wind, but at least we're losing that large tornado signature that we had earlier as this heads off to the east. But still, for those of you in Ohio County, there we're going to be watching that as it heads off to the east here at a very good clip at about 50 to 65 miles per hour, depending on what portion of the line you're on as it moves on by. I saw they did update that tornado warning around the Bedford area. They're still watching that. Just west of Bedford, the warning itself is a large one. I mean, it encompasses a lot of counties in Indiana. So Lawrence County is just part of it all. But they did update that warning, Ryan.
Yeah, and it's moving northeast at 50 miles per hour right now. Radar indicated rotation, so they're not saying this is a radar confirmed tornado. We were talking about how that, kind of the debris was inconclusive, may not have been debris on the radar, and that's indeed, I think, what they're seeing right now. So this is heading toward Dones, Indiana. This is going to be staying probably just north of Bedford. If you kind of draw draw a line from the bottom edge of this polygon. Notice that Avoca will probably, or Avoca, excuse me, will probably be involved in that at some point here if this warning were to continue downstream. So we'll watch that for folks in Avoca, Indiana, northern Lawrence County. You'd be next in line for this.
And Ryan, look at your image there. That's a very wooded terrain that we're looking at. So again, it's going to be hard to get a lot of reports. Yeah. So it'll take us some time to really get a lot of true data on this. So we'll keep you posted. Just treat it. Obviously, as there is a tornado, getting your safe spot as always, and let's just hope that that the reality of it does not come to fruition, right? So let me get you back to just the radar view, and I'll loop this because again, trying to track how these are going to evolve over the next few hours is going to vary depending on where you're at in wave country. Different times for everyone. But Indiana, right now, we've got that combination trying to happen with the supercells from earlier today. They've actually lifted north and now have tilted to connect in with the apex of the line itself. And I still think this is going to be the main stories. Once this gets organized, this is what's really going to surge a straight line wind threat. It's really going to accelerate across, I would say, central Kentucky, and may even include Louisville. It's going to be close for Louisville. And then we got a separate area. I think for a while we're going to end up facing a tornado threat that may linger. This band of storms that's got that high wind with it is going to continue to push to the north and east and feed right into that. So the whole thing itself will likely still produce some type of rotation as it moves on by heading into Lawrence County. So that's something to watch there, but it has lifted at least north out of Jackson and Jennings for the moment, but only to see it come right back around again, Ryan.
Okay, hello folks in Cloverport and Cannelton. We've got strong winds moving in. You're under the severe thunderstorm warning. The radar is detecting 72-mile-per-hour winds in the storm aloft right now. That's moving through Floral, Kentucky, near Chambers at this point. This big burst of wind is going to scream right into Cloverport there as that starts to move into Breckinridge County. Stand by Hardinsburg, Clifton Mills, Irvington, Raymond, Ammons. You folks are kind of be in the vicinity of these winds as they move in. Again, this is not tornadic in nature, but straight line winds are going to be what we start to transition things toward here over the next hours. All of this congeals together sort of into one big line, Brian.
Yeah, and that's going to be the overnight threat. It looks like, at least for the majority of you watching, that's going to be our biggest issue, is going to be the straight line wind threat. Once these get organized, the tornado threat, I still think it's obviously going to linger, but it is starting. It'll start to wane down, and we'll get into more of a isolated tornado threat on the line itself instead of these larger supercells that produce the big tornadoes that we've been seeing so much video of as of late. But as we saw this morning, you don't need that. You don't need it. You just need a straight line wind event, and you've got problems. And we have more people without power today than any severe thunderstorm we've had probably in the past couple of years. And that's just from a straight line wind event that came through, not even a tornado. So again, while tornadoes get a lot of attention because of their visual sense, the damage that straight line winds in both segments like this can do when they move across a large area of real estate can cause more issues sometimes, and usually a little more widespread too on the wind damage and power outages. So if you haven't done it yet, get everything charged up, your phone plugged in, ready to go. Make sure you get everything as far as your anything outside you need to secure that may have been blown around earlier. Make sure it's safe and ready to go. Anything loose outside, any tree branches or anything like that as it moves on by. Okay, it looks like this is another severe thunderstorm. They've upgraded the warning, looks like here. I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but this is going to be the one that's located just around the Bedford area. It still looks like a 70-mile-per-hour wind tag that is on that one to the top of the hour. But I really think, Ryan, that's going to be a problem area as well as the one you showed down in Cloverport developing here very soon. Very similar notches here are forming.
Yeah, that's a tornado possible tag on that with a considerable damage threat. 70-mile-per-hour winds now on this. This is Lawrence County, Indiana that we're talking about. By the way, quick update. We may have said this already, but I want to reiterate it if we haven't here. The tornado warning for Du Bois has been dropped, but they're still going to keep the severe thunderstorm warning for that going. Just not seeing any evidence of a tornado in that one right now. There's a little bit better evidence there could be some circulation, of course, just west of Lawrence County, Indiana, hence the tornado possible tag on that. You've probably heard this at least several times today, if not in the previous severe weather events from this year, but a tornado possible tag on a severe thunderstorm warning just elevates the severe thunderstorm warning into kind of almost a junior tornado warning if it were there, just to say that, hey, this could go tornado warning at any point if that rotation gets a little bit stronger out west, Brian.
All right, good points. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. There's another tornado warning on the southern side, by the way, that big supercell down to the south. I just want to do a quick check on that, as it looks like it may be taking much more of that right turn there. Yeah, I can start to see a new development there on the southern side that's leading the way with that appendage. So this is likely going to track a little closer to the southern side, if not due south, the Grayson County area, if it were to hold together on its track. So not good news for our friends and family down here as you head toward Rochester, Kentucky, heading along 231 just south of Beaver Dam. That's an area right there where that notch is. We need to watch that as that tracks to the east, but at least want to make sure that since we have so many people that have friends or family that are camping this weekend, that hopefully they're aware. I mean, the land between the lakes area has been hit about 3 times today with storms, so I'm hoping everyone's all right there. Okay, so that's area number 1 we're watching, where again, this is starting to enhance a bit more on some of the wind fields. Got a tornado maybe developing on the southern side, and then you may have a very strong wind threat that may try to develop here soon on the northern side of this as well. Then we've got the apex of storms that is trying to produce some strong wind gusts as you move into Breckinridge County and Perry County here in the next few moments. We'll see how this gets organized. And then we got the notch up here to the north that is still producing the potential to get a quick development of a tornado, especially in the northwest corner of that as that wind surges. But even without the tornado part, as you head into the southwest side there, Lawrence County, that strong wind push is, I mean, the radar estimates that Ryan was showing was over, I believe, 70 or 80, if I remember right.
70, yep.
Just above the ground. So the truth could be very close to that. We'll see if it continues to surge outward like that into Lawrence County. But still, this is trying to build more into Harrison. So Harrison County will be watching as well as Crawford. You're kind of in the middle that hasn't been fully connected yet on these warnings. But there may be a gap here. We may be able to hopefully squeeze at least a couple of counties in that. We'll see.
Yeah, 51 mile per hour wind gust reported at Huntingburg, just reported by our good friend Gary Fritz out there at 10:25 p.m. And I did also want to mention that there has been a report of some considerable damage in the Owensboro area with that batch of storms that is now moving into Tell City, Cloverport, near Cannleton at this point. You see that red dot right there? That indicates sort of a 4 out of 5 wind damage there. That was on the east side of Owensboro. So just kind of food for thought here as this moves down US 60. This is much like a scenario like we had this morning, where if you don't have a tornado warning, that does not necessarily mean that the damage threat for you is super low or anything. A severe thunderstorm warning packing 65, 75 mile per hour winds can do just as much damage as a low-end tornado here. So take these seriously, folks, away from doors and windows as this moves into Cloverport on the western side there of Breckinridge County and the southern part of Perry County, just now east of Tell City.
All right. And yeah, Brian's right. We saw a lot of those reports today that were coming in, and that's something I don't think we've seen yet in a long time since I've been looking at MPing here into the metro. So once again, that's going to be the concern. You can see now we're getting these areas. I'll kind of draw some more. We're seeing these surges. Obviously, this is the one that's got the main tornado threat at the moment. We'll see how that will evolve as it moves along areas of the Western Kentucky Parkway heading toward Grayson County and eventually Edmonson County, Butler County. We'll see how that translates. And then as we head up to the north, there's that, again, strong wind push moving into areas of Breckinridge, Meade County, southern Crawford County. And then they've lost a tornado warning out of this areas just northwest of Bedford, Indiana, as a surge in. And Ryan, I'm about to go to you. I saw there's a statement, too, coming in from the Storm Prediction Center.
And it mentions Louisville directly here. Right. Well-developed Bo Echo will approach the Louisville metro in the next hour. Significant damaging winds of 75 miles per hour or greater are possible, along with what we were talking about earlier, QLCS tornadoes, meaning tornadoes within a line of storms that are a little bit harder to detect and may not be as strong, but can still do a lot of damage here. So the Storm Prediction Center literally talking about Louisville in one of these mesoscale discussions. You don't see us named in that very often here, so that is significant.
No, and I know it's alarming to hear when you hear significant wind damage and 70 mile per hour plus winds moving in, but it is going to be, again, how this it'll almost take on a shape that will look like an arrow, like a bow and arrow, where it's trying to push outward right into the metro. We'll see if that indeed is the surge we're going to get as these winds move through. One sign that is likely going to be a growing threat is back here to the west. If you look at all the general light rain that we've got, back here across areas just west of where the warnings are at. This area is expanding, indicating what we call a cold pooling that's starting to happen. That air is really sinking rapidly and pushing outward, and that is allowing for this to really become a little more of a stronger Boeing segment as it evolves toward I-65. The second thing that happens when this takes over is the forward motion accelerates. So this is where we throw modeling out the window, basically already there now, because the models just cannot keep up with this kind of environment. So we have to just go by the radar data, and we can tell you right now as it moves on by, this is going to be arriving very much in the 11 o'clock hour. I think it's going to be moving into the Louisville area, perhaps very close to a 12-hour window of what we saw earlier today, 12 hours gap between the two rounds, but that looks to be the case. And if this has the same kind of wind with it as we saw earlier today, then another round of wind damage will certainly be at play. And I know that's not what anyone wants to hear after you probably have damage in your yard right now. You probably do not even have power right now, and you're watching this and you're like, I don't want to hear this. And we totally understand that. And it being in the middle of the night, this is really tough. So you got time, and that's why we've been on. We're trying to give you as much time as you can. If you need to get into a safe place, a different environment, you're in a mobile home, you're into a camper, you can get to a friend's house or a shelter. You got time to do that, but you only have about an hour before these storms really ramp up, and that strong wind does indeed hit. So you can make those calls now. It's to your benefit. The worst that can happen is you inconvenience a friend for just a moment to kind of hang out with them and chat as these storms kind of move on by. And we just want you to be safe, and let's hope that we don't run into a situation like we had today where, again, we lost a life today because of the strong winds moving through the area. So we don't want that. So let me show you again the radar view. There's the warnings we got. We do not have any tornado warnings within our viewing area at the moment. These are just severe thunderstorm warnings we're tracking from around Bedford, Indiana. A bit of a gap. We'll see if this will connect again for Orange County and Crawford, but based on right now on the radar trend, you may be perfectly fitting into this little gap here in the line to where you may avoid some of that really strong wind there. I'm hoping that's the case, but that seems to be the trend right now on the radar, which means it just picks back up again on the strong winds as you head toward areas of very far southern Crawford County, cross the Ohio River, head into Breckinridge County, and this is certainly going to be a high wind event right there located around Muhlenberg County. That is going to be a very strong wind event taking shape, especially anytime you get a cell that has a history of producing tornadoes and then evolves into a straight line wind event. Yeah, your wind fields on that can really go haywire. So that is going to be aiming just on the fringes there. I would say Butler County and very close to Grayson County looks to be where that may trend as we head through the next few moments. In Louisville, again, just some light rain so far. That we're seeing a few drops out there. We'll see what happens if this indeed can bow out. I know the Storm Prediction Center said that they're concerned about Louisville, but we'll see if this can connect, because that's going to be our threat, is will this indeed form a complete bowing segment and really enhance the winds? That's something that we're waiting to see on, because so far the strongest wind I've seen is about 51 miles per hour out of any of the storms that are coming into the area. So we don't have at the moment any severe wind confirmed. So far it's been all radar indicated, but that's the challenge, because again, we don't have a lot of ground truth yet. Until these get a little more east and get into a little more populated areas, then we certainly start to see those ground reports come in, and we just don't want it to be too late to give you guys a heads up as it moves on by there. Let me zoom in real quick to the one that's in Breckinridge County, because that one gets my eye. So move just northwest of Hardinsburg. Got a severe thunderstorm warning out for that already, but that again is near the one that Ryan was showing you earlier. It was approaching Cloverport on the western side. It's already on the eastern side now of Cloverport. But that is accelerating on the northern side of Hardinsburg and may clip right into Clifton Mills or even into Irvington if it can hold together. That's something we'll be watching as it moves off rapidly to the east at about roughly 65 miles per hour. I believe it's still as the forward motion we're getting a lot of these storms move by. Let me actually animate the wind field. This will help tell some of the story as well. This is from just the radar beam at Fort Knox. When you're looking at this, I want your attention to mainly focus on the blues, especially when you get into a brighter blue scenario. And you see that pocket of wind moving in now across areas around Du Bois County all the way down to about Perry, Crawford County, and certainly right there, that enhancement, northwest side of Breckinridge County, aiming quickly into Harrison County, rest of Meade County. So a big heads up for you guys. Just be aware, if this continues to ramp up, we may end up with a even higher wind field that could develop, and that may be one of the reasons we're concerned about Louisville. In fact, Ryan, you've got the actual map now from the Storm Prediction Center,
Yes.
right? So show everyone that.
Literally getting ready to tweet this out here. But yes, it's a significant damaging wind and QLCS, or just spin up tornado potential here. This red box, don't pay attention to the one here on the right, but the one on the left here and in the center, that is the exact area that the Storm Prediction Center has said that this well-developed Bo Echo will approach the Louisville Metro. Again, they made a special discussion in Norman, Oklahoma, just for Louisville, Kentucky here. That's a big deal, all right? Damaging winds of 75+ miles per hour are possible, along with those spin-up tornadoes. So even though it doesn't look super crazy impressive on radar right now, as Brian was just talking about, this bow may kind of connect up together, and the apex of that bow would take aim, unfortunately, right at a population of 1.2 million people here. So we're going to have to watch this like a hawk here, Brian, with these warnings out to our west and kind of the push of wind and the cold pool and the rear inflow jet trying to take this through here in potentially a violent fashion, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You really can't tell where we're at. You can't see the very strong winds that are above our heads, obviously, but there is a jet stream that is warring over us at a good 60 to 70 miles per hour at the moment that is feeding above our heads. That's really what's driving a lot of these storms, even though we're past sunset. Even if we didn't get any sun this afternoon, I still think we would have a problem here tonight with severe weather, but we got sun on top of that. So that only just made the realization that we're going to get straight line winds and some tornadoes out of this. That concern grow a little bit more. This is what we're going to be watching. Ryan showed you that, again, that statement from the Storm Prediction Center. Again, you're looking at wind fields, not the actual precipitation right now, because I think at the moment, that is the best way to tell the story, is how the wind field's advancing. And this is what we're watching. And what is interesting is that the radar beam where it's located at Fort Knox is seeing this aloft. So there is a chance this could easily just translate all the way down here as we get a little closer, and we may see an enhancement of that wind field into Harrison County, into Meade County. So be ready, Meade County, Harrison County, Corydon, Brandenburg. There's a chance if that wind field does translate down and forms that apex there, we are going to get a much more serious situation. Okay, there's the this is a new warning, or is that continues? That's a continuation, okay.
It's a continuation, yeah.
All right.
For Crawford and Perry, Breckenridge, Hancock, Meade.
Okay, thank you. There's so many things flashing here, trying to keep up. Again, that's the, I think this is going to try to apex up more. As Brian was pointing out, I think that'll all fill in. So I'm waiting to see if they're going to go with warnings here on that. We can't get much ground truth, so we're going to have to go just by radar. But just by radar alone, the story is evolving to a high wind event right there, just west of Louisville, that is aiming toward the city. So there is a chance if they're going to issue a severe thunderstorm warning, they may end up drawing it that will include all the way up to I-65. If this goes the way it is trending, they may do just that.
Speaking of giant severe thunderstorm warnings, Brian, holy cow, the entirety of western Kentucky just went under a single severe thunderstorm warning, as it seems. Look at all this yellow right here. Wow. So big time severe weather happening west of Bowling Green here. I think these are actually separate warnings, but boy, they all mesh together to look like one there. That's something you don't see too often around here. So we may very well see a similar situation start to unfold closer to I-65 in the Louisville area, but I thought that was significant to show.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that southern part of that really strong. Look at that wind field. At least on this radar view, it looks like it's really intensified. I'll let Ryan focus on and see if he's going to update on that cell, because we're pretty far from the cell at Fort Knox.
Oh, wow.
At that beam. Do you have it there? Okay,
yeah,
let's go over to Ryan and show you that. Again, that's the, they updated the tag on that too, I believe. But
yeah, so at this time you can see that there is, of course, just some intense winds coming together here. The couplet may be hard to see, but nonetheless, there is still that tornado warning. This is for the Central City area right there. And as I pop on the warnings here, you've got kind of a cluster of tornado warnings. Unfortunately, it makes it hard. Got a radar indicated tornado Muhlenberg County right now that includes, looks like that just updated, literally just as I said that there, Central City, Greenville at this point here. And then you've got another tornado warning for Central City itself. And as we pop that on the screen here, looks like it's kind of tough to query two different warnings here. Let's see if we can do that correctly here. Okay, there we go. So we've got that warning. That's Central City, 11,000 folks until 10 p.m. Central Time here. And then the southernmost tornado warning on that, there it goes. That's going to be Drakesboro, Greenville, 5,800 folks until 10 o'clock Central Time down that way. Let's put the velocity on there one more time. Again, we're just updating folks just outside of our viewing area here. This is a very significant wind event down near Central City. If there were to be a tornado, it would be right here. This is not as clear of a rotational couplet as it once was. This is a different part of the storm now. The storm has kind of evolved, ingested some other parts of other storms, and is doing its own thing here. But nonetheless, pretty significant tornado threat still down there at this time. The statement from the National Weather Service here in Louisville is that these storms down near Central City right now, of course, are getting ingested into the main line of storms. So this is a separate supercell that's now getting eaten alive by these storms. So there's a lot of collision. There's a lot of confusion inside that storm happening right now. You know, where's the rotation going to be? What's going on? Where's my new core? Where's my new updraft and downdraft here? So that tornado threat overall, by the time it gets toward a little closer to Grayson County, may be a lot lower. Fingers crossed that that's the case, Brian.
All right, got a new warning, so let me pass that along. This is going to be a little closer now to the metro. We were basically expecting this to come out. They've worded it only 60 miles per hour officially for the warning, but let me get you right to it. Again, this is going to be just west of Louisville, so this will include Harrison County, Meade County, northern side there as you get, very far northern side of Hardin County, included as well as into Breckenridge. Again, they got 60 listed on this. This may be a precaution to what may develop here, but it's set to expire at 15 minutes after 11 o'clock, traveling off to the east, a pretty good clip, I believe. I don't have a speed on it right now, but it was moving at about 60 miles per hour, maybe even faster. That's something we'll be watching as it moves on by. Let's check out the wind fields and see what that looks like, and you can see how it's trying to, again, the blues are what we're looking at in this particular phase. Once the storm gets on the other side of the radar beam, we're going to be looking at reds. Okay, so at the moment we're looking at the blues. The green is already a sign they're going to get some strong winds, obviously, but the blue is really showing some of that enhancement right there on the western side there, northern side of Breckenridge County, heading off to the east. So this is a big heads up for those again in Louisville. If this holds together, and it will, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. This is going to aim right into Valley Station eventually, Bullitt County, Floyd County as well be in the path. So just go ahead and say it. If you guys are in that area around anywhere in the Louisville metro, give your friends a call. If they're heading to bed, make sure they're fully aware. Let them know there's a potential for a high wind setup as these storms try to bow out in segments, moving toward the Ohio River, heading into Harrison County first, Meade County next, and then again potentially right in the metro. And Brian, by the looks of this, I don't see why there wouldn't be a warning for Louisville, but things could obviously change in weekend. But given how this is right in that apex portion of this line, it makes sense that we're going to see that wind get even stronger.
And I would agree with that, Brian, just because especially we're susceptible to more tree damage. You know, we had the trees blowing one direction earlier today, another direction tonight. The ground is soggy. You're going to have some wind damage. What I'm showing you right now is the Corridon SkyTrack camera. I've pointed this toward the west and southwest. Water drops on the lens, lightning in the background there. Not seeing anything too significant at this point, but as that storm moves in, this camera is going to be invaluable to us, and we'll be able to kind of witness this as it moves in. Impressive lightning, right?
All right, they issued they issued a statement saying that they have the warning right up to Louisville. They realize the wind signatures are not hard to ignore here, especially in lower levels, but they're concerned that maybe something that would be a bit of a protection over the city, a bit of a lid that may try to taper this, but we don't know that for sure until they get a little closer to us. That's why they stopped the warning right now to just west of Valley Station. They're waiting to see what happens here the next few moments as this line surges out. You can almost see a little bit more of a, let me kind of stop this flow, right there into Breckenridge County. You see a bit more of a notch or at least a bowing that takes place with this. A bit of a wiggle here, but then right into there, that's where we get a bit of a bowling segment. That's what's going to be heading right, actually, into Brandenburg. Once we get into Brandenburg, that'll be one of the first stations, I believe, that we may get some measured winds. So that will help us in getting some ground truth to how this line is behaving as it moves into the area, because so far, again, we've only had the wind gust into Du Bois County to go off of, and that's about it. They're just now moving into the viewing area, so we don't really have a lot in general to work with until they move in faster, which is already starting to happen. We got plenty of warm air, plenty of moisture around. It's just whether or not they'll hold on to that field, but I think they will. I think they will as they head off to the east. I think that's still going to be an issue as they move, especially on the western side here of Louisville, Bullitt County, Hardin County as well as tracking off to the east. And there's more of that warning mass in the southern part of that apex, Ryan, down in south central Kentucky.
And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. 71-mile-per-hour wind gust in Muhlenberg County from the Kentucky Mesonet site down there. That gives you a testament to just how strong those storms are. But of course, our focus will continue to be on the storms moving into our population here in the metro.
Well, let's hope we don't see that. Yeah, that'd be bad. It's bad enough for them, and certainly with them being former parts of a tornadic supercell, you're going to get a very strong wind push here across southeast areas of Kentucky. But as we've mentioned, it's really going to be that portion of it that tries to bow out that seems to get our attention a bit more for at least Louisville to see how this will translate right along 64. Heading right into the Louisville area, but can't ignore even Grayson County here into Breckenridge County. We'll see if some of that wind field can enhance. So far, it doesn't look overly strong, but it's noticeable wind that will get your attention as it approaches. It looks a little weird because it's getting right up on the radar beam, so we're going to have some weird-looking colors here very soon as this line crosses over the radar. We'll explain it and help you out as we guide you through this. But at the moment, no warning for Louisville, but just west of us, we do have this severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect. The latest we got on that is until about 11:15. In fact, let me just show you. First off, here's the camera view. Again, the Ryan was showing there into Corden with the rain and the lightning. Here's the big board with the warnings we got as of right now. We've got Harrison, Breckenridge, Hardin, and Meade for one section. That's the one that was most recent. It's just west of Louisville. That expires in, move my head, 21 minutes away. And then we have the one in Crawford County, which is getting close to expiring here in the next few minutes at the top of the hour. Those are the two big ones that we got at the moment. One way, of course, you can keep updated on the storms is, and if you get any reports of damage, the Wave Weather app, there is a button on there. You can submit your reports, pictures, and video. Only do so when it's safe. But if you were to experience that and you're able to do it when you're doing just that, it actually goes right into our systems, and it really helps not only the Weather Service out, it helps us out and making sure the people downline from what you experienced have a heads up that kind of weather is coming your way. So we can help you guys, and you guys can help us back. And this kind of a setup, Ryan.
Okay, I want to measure some of the wind speeds detected by radar in these storms now moving through northern Breckenridge and western Meade County. These are moving toward Harrison County, eventually the Louisville metro area. I have pixel queried here one little area near Andyville, Kentucky. That's in northwestern parts of Meade County, 70 mile per hour there. Just north and west of Irvington, 65 miles per hour. This is in Perry County, just east of Leopold there, 67 miles per hour. Again, those are the winds aloft in the storms. The concern at this point is that those winds may not be making it down to ground level because of kind of an inversion that may be trying to set up here during the overnight in the Louisville area. That's what the National Weather Service in Louisville was talking about a little earlier. But when you're staring at, of course, this big ball of wind moving toward a metro area with a wet ground and what we've seen earlier today kind of in the back of our minds here, it's hard to ignore. A little bit of an error there. But nonetheless, that is why we're continuing to kind of use elevated language when we're talking about this moving into Louisville. The timing on this, by the way, is around 11:30-ish, 11:30 to midnight tonight when these storms will be marching through Jefferson County, the Louisville area here. I know a lot of folks want to know, when is this going to hit my house? Just know probably about the bottom of the 11 o'clock hour, we'll start to see this here in the city.
All right, Ryan, appreciate that. You're right, and what Ryan was referring to again is how that wind field is above the tree line. There's a question whether or not that can make it down to the tree line and below. That obviously changes the entire storyline when that happens. We saw that this morning when the radar was estimating well over 80 miles per hour, and the truth was roughly at about 60 to 65. So when we see those strong winds like that aloft, we just got to hope that they don't get below the tree line, but it certainly does vary in every situation. It isn't always the same ordeal. One thing that is starting to show up, let me try to animate this for you guys as we evolve, is we've got still two different storylines that are happening across this line, trying to become one as it merges into the I-65 corridor. However, there is still a disconnect that has happened here on the northern side of this. So we'll see if that may be some of the saving grace across some parts of Indiana. If it can build back up again, that will once again enhance the wind from Washington County and Scott County and Clark County all the way toward even Trumbull and Carroll. We'll see if that can connect or not. Otherwise, it looks like we're maybe setting up for just a very strong wind event that's going to line up on the southeast side of this complex. Remember when we first got on the air, we had supercells kind of popped all over the place like pieces of popcorn. we don't see that right now, right? It's not as blotchy that way. It's becoming one big machine that is working as one now to try to produce the severe weather moving into the area. They've issued special weather statements, it looks like, on that line, on that section right there. So there's no warning for that officially, but they did issue a statement saying there could be some strong winds with that to around 55 miles per hour. Just below severe, almost at that point, but either way, I think we may get some warnings along that as it pushes to the south and east. And Ryan, it looks like we're getting a little bit of rain now building in right into the Louisville area as well. Yeah,
we are getting some of that rain. I do want to take one moment here to at least acknowledge what's going on down in Butler County, Kentucky. If you have friends in Bowling Green is right here on this map. If you have, graduation parties maybe taking place in Warren County down there in Bowling Green, we've got folks down there who may have a connection to the city. Let them know that there is a tornado warning with a likely tornado not too far to their north and west here. This is near Rochester, Kentucky, Butler County again. And if you kind of follow my hand here, it would potentially track into the Bowling Green area. It's kind of sitting on the south and east side of the line here. So as it tracks toward the south and east, this will be kind of the southernmost storm, and it may try to survive going into one of our top metro areas in the Commonwealth here. So food for thought for folks who may have connections to Bowling Green. Start giving those folks a text, a phone call to say, hey, just make sure you're paying attention to the weather down there. WBKO is our sister station, by the way, in Bowling Green, and you can watch David Walter and all those great folks down there that we know so well.
Yeah, a lot of folks are camping too in South Central Kentucky right now. So this is once again just a bad setup. I'm hoping everyone got to their safe spot. It was on all the campgrounds in that area earlier today with the storm threat, and knew this was coming in tonight because it's been talked about so much. Not just even with straight line winds, but even with the flash flooding potential. A lot of these creeks and rivers are going to get out of their banks really fast here as this wall of wind and rain is moving into the area. Okay, let me get you a little closer into the Louisville area and take a closer look at the storms moving into the city. Again, no official warning for Louisville here. So this is just some building of the downpours now moving right into, it looks like, New Albany, right along downtown. It's likely rain at the airport. Same story as you head toward Newburgh Road, Poplar Level Road. Some light rain so far, and nothing severe in the metro. We're waiting to see what happens with this line, and we stop the radar and kind of get more of a focal point on that, what's happening in Harrison. I think it's going to be our main issue in the city. What will be when happens when this line gets a little further or a little closer to us, approaching just south of Corden. In fact, let me we'll bring up the wind real fast here real quick, and then we'll get you over to that. You can see the wind field, again, right there, just southwest, really, of Corden, but it's getting right on the radar beam, so it's really tough to see. But it's approaching right into the Louisville area very, very soon. Here is the live camera view. Let me step out of the way. This is in Corden, Indiana, right now live, and the rain coming in. This is almost looks sort of like what we had with the E-Town view that you had earlier today, Ryan, when we had the strong winds and the poor visibility, the very heavy rainfall moving in. But I know you're checking some of the wind fields there, but so far, again, the worst of that looks to be just southwest of Corden, but awful close. Yeah, and at this time, we're not seeing any sort of actual ground confirmation of these wind speeds in the Corden area, but nonetheless, be in your, kind of a safer place in your house, away from doors and windows. You want to be inside. You're not going to see anything at night from these storms. It's not worth being outside, being a looky-loo at this thing. You want to make sure that you're kind of going through this indoors here. I'm going to show some of the wind velocity here closer to Corden here, and you'll see that we've got some strong winds moving in at this time. We can query down toward Brandenburg, Kentucky on radar, 72-mile-per-hour winds just above your head. Again, this is not on the ground here, and then 69 miles per hour wind nearby. Brian, you were talking about earlier when we were looking at the E-Town SkyTrack camera as those ferocious wind-driven thunderstorms move through. I remember at one point on our Wave Weather Now live stream seeing debris flying past the camera there, small leaves, chunks of something there. So unfortunately, that is another risk that we face tonight in the Louisville metro area with these storms trying to move toward us. Yeah, and again, we've talked about how saturated the ground is, and we had that wind gust of 62 miles per hour in Louisville, 65 into Mount Washington. I really think even a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust out of these storms can cause some trees to topple over if they were already impacted earlier today about the strong push of wind. It hasn't been enough time to dry the ground out to really try to get these things to grab a hold of the roots a little more and sink into the ground and hold on. All right, so any tree that's a little more at risk of falling or leaning a bit will certainly feel the impact of even a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust. You really don't have to get to severe limits to see some problems develop out of that. So not trying to alarm everyone and say this is going to be the end end of the world here. All right, this is not what we're talking about, but I do think this is one of those setups that can knock your power out and can easily cause additional tree damage or wind damage to your property there. So we want to make sure everyone's aware of this. It's 11:03. A lot of you probably turn the TV on looking for the news right now. This is the news, is the weather today, and certainly is going to be the setup as we head into the at least the first part of the overnight. This is not going to last until 6 o'clock in the morning. All right, this is going to be just for the next few hours. It's going to be the worst of it, and then it's just rain after that for a while, and we'll calm things down. But between now and that point, we've got to be ready. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do for areas northwest of Louisville, and let's kind of see, oh, that's the new watch east of us, okay. So really at this point, a good chunk of Lawrence County is in good shape. You're out of the wind and the tornado potential. Orange County is moved out of it. Du Bois is out of it. You're dealing with just rain. And Perry County, I can clear all you guys out of this. And Crawford County, for the most part, just about in the clearing as well. So we'll start doing that. We'll start clearing out areas that are out of the worst of the severe threat, and let you guys know if you want to ease back and get back into your routine and get ready for bed, you'll be able to do that. But again, for the next few moments, it's just ahead of that. We're not going to clear Jackson, Washington County, certainly into Corydon, Breckenridge County, Meade County, down in the Grayson, and points east. We've got to hold on to that damage and wind threat until this race is by. But as you can probably tell, since you've been watching us, if you've been watching since we came on at 9:30, that this has certainly accelerated. Everything's progressing quicker across the area as well. Okay, they just adjusted that warning a little more on that line as well. All right, Ryan, you got some of the reports. Now, some of this was from earlier today.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm looking for any sort of wind damage reports here, and I don't want you to look at Louisville, and I don't want you to look in northeast parts of Nelson County this time. Those are old reports from earlier today. I do want you to look out to the west here, to south and west of Tell City, where we've got a couple of wind damage reports. But what I'm not seeing is telling the bigger story. We're not seeing any wind reports, any wind damage reports on MPing from this area of the world right here, closer to Harrison County, Meade, and Breckenridge. There's a couple of things, unfortunately, at play here. One, that's a very rural area, so you don't have a lot of folks who may have that MPing app or the RadarScope app to do that. And two, it's at night, so it may be harder to see what has happened outside your window. The sun comes up, whoops, we got a tree down over there. You may not have seen that until the next day. So this is not going to be kind of the telltale of what's going on, but it's at least providing us with a little bit of a sign, Brian, that there may not be a whole lot going on at ground level with these storms at this point.
Yeah, this, so when we watch our cameras now, at least help us in telling some of that story as it moves on by. This is in Corydon. The worst is now in Corydon. So this looks to be the max that is hitting Corydon right now, is this wave moving on through. If you look at the light here in the distance, you can see kind of the sheets of rain blowing in the distance there. So we'll be watching. We can't see a whole lot because obviously it's nighttime. But certainly you can tell the lightning has been frequent as it continues to move off to the east. And we'll see what happens as that certainly does evolve a little more into the Louisville area here very, very soon. It's going to be right up on the radar beam, so it's going to be a bit more of a challenge for us to use the radar data. Normally we'd have a backup radar to use that is in southeast Jefferson County heading toward Mount Washington area, but that unfortunately is down. So we're kind of limited on what we're able to show. But here's that strong wind. Let me kind of get a closer view of that. And you're going to see it a little more enhanced either way because it is right up on the radar. So a bit of a skewing that happens there. It is going to show how the potential of the stronger wind is going to be there. So you're going to get little pockets of those darker blues indicating some pretty strong wind. We just got to wait and see whether or not this is going to try to drop down all the way into areas say around Laconia and head into Dogwood, not too far away from the casino, all the way down to Muldrow Hill, just west of Muldrow Hill, all the way to Brandenburg. In fact, it's now in Brandenburg, so we may get a wind report here soon if it is something significant. If we don't hear anything from Brandenburg, then more than likely we don't have any significant wind out of that moving on by. But it is, again, approaching the Louisville area, and that's one of our main concerns will be just this apex. And once this passes by for Louisville, that's it. All right, we're out of the woods on this round of severe weather, and hopefully for a while. But we've got to get past this, and you can tell by the looping of it how this, again, is kind of just bowing out right across Indiana and central Kentucky. It's got a lot of forward momentum to it there, so that's the reason why we just need to wait and see if some of that wind can get pushed down to the ground level. It's going to take a bit of time to get that data analyzed. But at the moment, that is the only warning, Ryan. that we've got in effect is just on the western side of Louisville. And that's set to expire in about 8 minutes.
Yeah, I want to do kind of a wide-scale update for you to just kind of show you what's going on across both Kentucky and southern Indiana here. So we've got this big line of storms that's now marching through. A couple things to note. One is that we've got the most severe storms now heading toward the Bowling Green area. Those are starting to surge to the south and east. Whenever you have a big line of storms like this, nature likes to follow the easiest path, the path of least resistance, right? Where's that going to be? It's going to be where the greatest moisture and instability are. That right now is located closer to I-40 in Tennessee, where there's a ton of instability, a lot deeper moisture down there. So these storms are saying, okay, I can go and get some food, the moisture, down in Tennessee. So they're starting to go toward the south now, that southernmost line. What's that doing for us here in Louisville? That is leaving us with kind of an orphaned northern edge of these storms that can still pack a punch with wind, by the way. But I think the greatest severe threat is now starting to trend just south of our area. You see a fresh tornado warning with a brand new supercell in front of that down near Bowling Green. Man, this is going to be a mess down there for the Bowling Green metro area here over about the next hour or so. I really feel for the folks down that way. It's going to get very intense with the weather down that way. But for here in Louisville, this is kind of the northernmost edge of where we're going to see potential severe weather, is right here in the city, right here along I-64. If you are north, basically, of the Louisville area, your risk is a little bit lower at this time. I was also looking at some of the meso-analysis here from the Storm Prediction Center, and it is showing still that the atmosphere over eastern Kentucky is still worked over from the thunderstorms that we had earlier today. That round number 1 has really affected the atmosphere right here. So as these storms try to march into that less favorable atmosphere over eastern Kentucky, they're going to have some trouble potentially here. Does not preclude seeing severe weather here in Louisville, just means that that chance may be starting to dwindle a little bit, but the proof is going to be over about the next 30 to 45 minutes as these storms truly do move through the metro, and we'll see what kind of reports we get.
All right, and notice too, there's a new warning now. This is going to include Louisville. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning. They're going to go with 60-mile-per-hour winds here for this warning. So Louisville now, again, it's a severe thunderstorm warning we're talking about, not a tornado warning. There's not even a tornado tag with this, but it's 60 miles per hour. Louisville, New Albany, Jeffersonville all included in this. In fact, it's 1.2 million people are now under this severe thunderstorm warning as that apex we've been tracking. It's right on the radar beam, so this becomes the challenge now. Will this be realized as it moves into Louisville, and could we get gusts to around that 60-mile-per-hour mark? That's possible. Severe thunderstorm warning to the top of the hour. Your phones are likely going off right now. You're getting the alert. Certainly stay away from windows. Make sure you stay inside. And we're going to be watching this carefully as it moves on by. The potential is there to get winds higher than what is indicated at 60. Can't rule it out as we head through the next hour. But we've tried to give you as much of a heads up as we can just to prepare for that potential. And let's hope that the highest wind does indeed try to stay aloft. Now, Ryan Hoke is keeping an eye on that because we're able to take that radar beam and you can see that spin that's happening. Right there's that little gray cap. That's the radar at Fort Knox. And Ryan's able to gauge some of that wind. Where are we at now on the wind, which I know is a pretty high angle from the beam there. But.
Right, so let's go into the Brandenburg area here and sample some of the winds in the storm. 63 miles per hour near Brandenburg at this time. Again, this is in the storm, not at ground level. This is not what we're seeing from a sensor. This is what the radar thinks it's seeing in the storm here. We're getting pretty close to that West Point radar site, as Brian mentioned a little bit ago. West of Brandenburg, 59-mile-per-hour wind. So I think this was a pretty good call by the National Weather Service here not to bring that 70-mile-per-hour wind potential into the metro, but rather a 60-mile-per-hour wind potential. You can see here this very tight line right here, this boundary between where you've got sort of the environmental winds and then you've got the thunderstorm winds kind of roaring in from the west here. So this is going to propagate eastward. Valley Station, West Point, Shepherdsville, folks in Portland, you all are going to be the first in line to see this here. It's only going to take about 15 minutes for it to go in, so probably about 11:30 p.m. is when this will truly get into the metro area here. And we've got a number of SkyTrack cameras, thankfully, that are in this area, so we'll be able to see very closely, very quickly what's going on with those storms as they're moving into our biggest population here within wave country. For instance, here's our South Louisville SkyTrack camera. We'll keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, well, I got Corden up here still as well. Are you able to punch up?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do the one from downtown. looking. I'm not sure if we're able to see that, or even New Albany. New Albany actually may be one of the better ones. Ryan will punch up here in a second. As we can tell in some of these situations where these storms are located, look at this camera really bouncing around there into Corydon, where we got lights and we got obviously our wind flags we use so often there in New Albany. But this will help us in gauging how this will evolve as this moves into the area. You see a lot of lightning in the distance. I mean, this is a lot of cloud to cloud lightning. I haven't seen a lot of these reports of cloud to ground just yet, so you may just see a lot of flashes, but you may just hear just a rolling thunder at times, which is another sign too that we've got maybe a bit of a inversion that is setting up. We're going to hear a little more of that rolling thunder versus that crackling of the thunder that terrifies us so much, right? But that's the warning, pretty lengthy one. They're accounting for that apex, the little bow and arrow, if you will, of the storms to hold on. So this is going to, if it holds on into that area, north and east, or heading on nearly due east, it's Shepherdsville, Brooks, Kentucky, Hillview, Highview, Okolona, Fern Creek, J-Town, over towards Simpsonville, Buckner, Kentucky, LaGrange, even Cox's Creek will be in that. And certainly as you head toward Vine Grove as well, we'll be watching as this moves quickly here off to the east. Again, don't have anything measured on the wind field. Wouldn't surprise me, they may try to go with another warning there on the Grayson County and southern side here of Hardin County. That is getting a little closer to really gusting out. So that may be our next warning. We'll see if that happens or not when it moves on by. Here's your wind fields as we got that switch. You can see it again pushing right into that I-64 corridor, and you're about to see the colors switch over here, and that's going to be something we'll watch. You're going to see pinks. Reds and pinks will be our focal point on the strong winds here very soon when they get to the other side. That's what we'll be looking at as they move through the Louisville area, Ryan. Yeah,
and we do have one report of some damage right here. This is just west of PRP, just south of New Middletown. This is going to be in Harrison County here, and it looks like either a 1 or a 2 out of 5. A couple reports kind of sandwiched together there, but you get the idea. So we have had at least some ground truth that the winds are trying to make it down to the surface. At least one MPING user reporting that damage. MPING, by the way, MPING. Search for that in your app store. It is a collaboration between the National Weather Service and the University of Oklahoma. You can make citizen severe weather reports, and we can show them right here on Wave News.
All right, and it's a great tool to have. So it's been big help today and really giving us the reports that we're getting out of this. All right, here's a tornado warning. This is for Bowling Green now. So the northern part of Bowling Green is under a tornado warning. Let me get you down real quick because we have a lot of folks that have been down there for graduations, I'm sure, about ready to. A lot of students go to WKU, so there again is that little bit of that appendage, and actually that would aim right into the campus. The campus is on the northern side there, so it may aim right into WKU if it holds together. I don't think it's anything confirmed. Yeah, it's radar indicated, so that's good. Let's hope it's not on the ground or anything like that. Otherwise, we're going to be focusing on that wind field, moving right into Louisville. Let me kind of get you more of a zoom on that. As I mentioned, the colors will be changing here very soon, and that will help us get some of the truth. This is coming in a little more of an odd angle than we had this morning. It was a little easier to track it moving east of the radar beam. We're able to see it move into Louisville that way. Now we've got to wait until it hops over. So we're not going to get a clear idea on the wind fields for the next, I would say, 15 minutes. It may take a bit of time here. So the ground reports will be crucial. We'll know as soon as it gets to the other side if we start seeing some pink show up into, say, Valley Station or PRP. That usually is one of the first spots we get a sign of something going wrong. It will show up in that area first. Right now, I'm not seeing that, but still, make sure you're staying away from windows, stay inside. I'm sure that's a given the middle of the night here, but just make sure you're staying weather aware and be ready for high winds to move through. As we mentioned, this is not going to last very long, and they'll deal with a period of rain that will continue throughout the next 2 to 3 hours after this moves by. You'll have to deal with the soaking rain for a while. So still can run into problems with flash flooding even after this moves by, but no doubt in the short term it's going to be that strong wind that is moving through the area. And Brian, this is still the only warning, right? This complex.
Yeah, this is still the only warning at this point. We just got a statement from the National Weather Service in Louisville saying that, yes, indeed, the atmosphere east of I-65 is still pretty worked over from this morning and this afternoon's first round of storms as those move through. But the low-level jet, which is basically like 5,000 feet above our head, it's kind of a very fast wind flow from the Gulf of Mexico that opens up during the overnight hours because the sun is down and not blocking blocking it. That is really kicking in right now, and their concern is that the wind shear for tornado potential is definitely still there. That's why they extended that tornado watch to include all of their counties now, that goes all the way into the Lexington area and beyond. So even though we're not seeing a ton of ground truth to what we have going on and moving into Louisville at this point, the environment is still very much suspect, and we want to make sure that we are treating this delicately to make sure that this doesn't try to amp up over the Louisville area. Sometimes over the heat island, things can get perked up a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on those wind fields. We'll keep an eye on that. 30,000,778
we got
folks
a tornado
without
warning
power.
now. Tornado
There
warning
it
for
is.
several counties here. This is going to be Bullitt County, Nelson, and Spencer and Hardin County now included in this tornado warning. All right, so let me get you. It's on the southern part of where we saw that apex of the stronger winds moving through. So here it is, including Mount Washington into the Waterford Road area, heading toward Keenes Church. Includes the Waterford community just west of Taylorsville Lake. Shepherdsville is included in that, all the way into Radcliffe. This is an observed tornado.
Oh, wow.
All right, this is an observed tornado. This may be radar confirmed on this as well, but I'll have Ryan check on that in a second. This is to the top of the hour, but again, this is a tornado warning now for the southern side of the metro, roughly from around right there near the radar beam. Let me get you into the velocity on this.
We've got a debris on radar with this, right northwest of Radcliffe, little green dot there.
I see it right there on the velocity.
Yeah.
Actually, it is showing up as well. That is the spot that Ryan is talking about. It's located right there just west of the Radcliffe area. I think it's right on the radar beam, so it's tough to pick, but that's a good catch on them to monitor that, because it's such a small setup. If that holds together, that's going to track right across I-65 and head right into Spencer County. So let's go over. Let me scan past this real quick, and we'll get into the big board, and I'm going to get you to some of your safety tips. Again, there's that tornado warning for another 42 minutes. It's a lengthy warning for Bullitt, Hardin, Nelson, and over into portions of Spencer County as well. Get into the lowest level of your home. Get into the basement if you have that option. Some of you don't have that option.
That's not important.
The key, number one, is to get into the lowest level, not the higher level of the home. Get lowest level. After you do that, then find your way into the middle of the structure, the middle of the house or the apartment. Get away from interior, or get away from windows and get into the interior. Get away from exterior walls. You don't want to be around a wall that touches the outside world, and that is going to be the main focal point to try to keep you guys safe, again, as that storm moves on by. There's that tornado warning again until the top of the hour. We'll have a, I don't know if we have a good sky track where we'll be able to monitor that. Maybe Bardstown. We'll see if we can monitor that as it moves on by there. But Ryan, I'll let you focus on the wind fields, and you still seeing that debris signature there.
Yeah, so at this point, I'll get to right where the couplet is, because we just got a fresh scan here. This is near Dietz Acres. This is going to be just north and east of Vine Grove at this time. Pitts Point, this is going to be very close to you. This is now crossing 31W, just crossed 31W, I should say here. We're of course, into northern parts of Hardin County here. This is the Bullitt County line. So if you are in Bullitt County, get into your tornado safe place immediately. We're looking for the debris on radar as well. That popped up there for just a moment. And as we kind of back up the radar, it's tough to see because it's in a noisy area, but I do think it's still there. And I'm going to circle where it is. It's right here near Dietz Acres, because if I kind of back it up one scan, boom, there it is. I think it's still right here, just east of 31W. This is tornado debris on radar, tornado safe place right now. This is one of those spin-up tornadoes. We were literally just talking about the environment for tornado formation, and this happened. So we are definitely tracking this now into northern Hardin County, into Bullitt County, and of course the extreme southeastern part of the Louisville Metro. This is a very wide, or a very long, I should say, tornado warning, encompassing a very long time, Brian. So we're going to be on the air with this for a while.
Okay, I'll ask to see if we can check with the newsroom as well, so if we can find out if there's anything taking place there into northern Hardin County, if they report anything near Fort Knox or Radcliffe when that passed by, because that's going to be obviously a big concern we're going to have. Let me get you into some of the communities here that we're going to be tracking over the next few moments as this moves right across Bullitt County there. So again, this is the little apex. There's the Dietz Acres, then there is Dixie Highway, 31W on the western side. So let me get you onto the velocity. If hopefully it'll still show up there. We'll see if it does. Okay, it's a bit of an impingement. It's hard to really see on this. Let me get you a little closer on the zoom. And again, it's just east there of Dietz Acres, right across northeast side of Radcliffe. It's on the eastern side here of 31W. So if it's still able to spin back up, now there is some concern that it may have lost that rotation and may try to gain it back again rapidly. It's an environment where it can do that one or two times potentially. So East Spring Street heading toward the 7th or Main Range Road all the way to the 7th Armored Division Road. Stills Range is one of the spots too that could also be in the path and kind of get you a little bit ahead of the game, a little bit more to the east. Again, if it's still producing one, we had observed there for a while by radar. There's Broomfield Range Road. There's Main Range Road again, tracking off to the east. And as we head a little further into Bullock County, that's where we're going to run into some problems there as you're traveling off to the east at all the way to really Mount Washington. If it were to hold together, that would be a concern. It's in a really rough spot. But look at the, actually, let me get back to that. Hold on one second. The wind field right now in the northwest side, actually just outside of the warning, into southwest Jefferson County is ramping up. So we can certainly see some very strong winds that are showing up. This is part of the severe thunderstorm warning. We mentioned for some reason it always seems to be like Valley Station and PRP that's the first sign we get of the pink colors that show up, and we're starting to see the signature there. We'll see if that holds, but this will be tracking over an area where, again, it's nothing but trees. We got the Jefferson Memorial Forest there, so we're going to have a bit of a delay, but it will pass over Ollie International, so we'll know very soon at least an idea of some of the wind field. Then it'll move into Okolona and Hillview in the next few moments as well. But there is a bit of an uptick. In some cases, you can get quick little spin-ups in this kind of a setup as well, even north of the tornado warning section. So I don't want to alarm you guys saying that it is going to happen, but I want you guys to be fully prepared because this is an environment with this kind of setup. Boy, it changes really fast. So you just got to be ready for it and hope that it doesn't do what it has the potential to do, and it moves on by, and we can calm things down, and which is going to happen here very soon. We're going to be able to relax, but at the moment, we've got, of course, the storm coming through across areas of, again, just on the southern side of the metro, but even in the metro itself, strong winds moving across Jefferson County that will impact the same areas that had the high wind earlier today, Ryan.
Yeah, we are tracking these storms not only with radar, but also with the SkyTrack camera at Kentucky Kingdom in South Louisville here. I've just pointed this thing toward the southwest. It's loading. There it is. It'll go into motion here in just a moment, but you get the idea here. We have seen several lightning strikes with these storms now moving through into, there we go, just skirting south of the Louisville metro area, so we'll be able to see some of the lightning. There was a strike there. So we've got some eyes on this, but these spin-up tornadoes are so tough to see when it's at night and when they're wrapped in rain like this, Brian. So we'll continue to monitor that.
They did add tornado possible now to Louisville's warning for that very reason, I think, that we were talking about. So that's a change just came in a few minutes ago. So again, it's still a severe thunderstorm warning, but they have added that a tornado is possible that could develop right on the apex of this line that's moving through. So I know we're not ignoring Bullock County and you guys in Spencer County. We're watching carefully, but I also want to make sure that everyone in the metro here, Okolona, Hillview, Brooks, Kentucky, Heritage Creek, all the way down into, I mentioned Brooks and Fern Creek, you guys are just kind of staying weather aware as these little signatures of pockets of stronger wind move right across the metro. There is a chance that some of those could easily cause a spin up. This is not a setup that's going to feature a large tornado on the ground kind of ordeal. This is going to be very much brief in their development and brief in their longevity. All right, here's an enhance. It just updated. You can still see we're still getting a decent signature there. Right along I-65 here in downtown Louisville. We can hear the rain at least. In fact, do we have our tower cam? Is that able to be punched up in the control? I'll give them a second. But it's hitting the station right now, some of the wind and very heavy rain, and you may be able to see some of that on the tower cam as it continues to move.
I've got it in Weather 2 here, so we can just pop up Weather 2.
We'll just go over to Ryan then, and he'll show it to you. You can't hardly see anything. I can see at least the buildings in downtown. They're there, but it's raining so hard, and the wind is really ramped up here in downtown Louisville. I'm not sure what a wind gust is, but it is certainly really ramped up here in the city and downtown itself. So, again, that is moving right into the Highlands here very, very soon, and in some pockets around the airport. We're waiting. Once we get an idea on the airport, we should get it.
35-mile-per-hour wind gust right here in the Wave Weather Garden.
Okay. Yep. Well, that's tough to do in the Weather Garden. That is a very sheltered environment, so to get a wind that high boy, you got to have a lot of wind focused in that weather garden there because it's surrounded by 3 walls basically on sides there. So again, strong winds. Fort Knox, is that right?
Fort Knox, 41 miles per hour right
41 miles per hour, Fort Knox. So again, these winds moving right across the airport. They're about to cross the airport. So once we get the updated number, it should pop in this banner here very, very soon. If we don't see it before, I got a feeling that'll be the case. Again, that's not a tornado warning officially in Louisville. That's just the potential. Once we get a little closer to the tornado warning side, really, I don't see as much of that rotation and that apex as I did before. It really looks about the same as what Louisville is kind of going through, but it's the same storyline where you can get these little notches that try to show up in this line, and boy, they are so hard to detect. When you see that phrasing of the QLCS all the time on tornado warnings, that's the reason why they're very, very brief.
Still got a little tornado debris on here. We can co-locate this little green spot here of potential debris with, of course, the little notch that we're seeing. This is just due east of Radcliffe. Lebanon Junction, tornado safe place right now. This is what's moving toward you. This will likely cross, of course, I-65 here in pretty short order within about the next 10 minutes here, Brian.
Yeah, and they have just updated it to radar indicating instead of observed now. So right now we're still looking at just the radar signature that's giving us a signal that there could still be a regeneration. Happen fast. They can really develop in anywhere along that line. I really think Louisville needs to be in the same boat here as far as what I'm trying to communicate to you guys. It's really the same storyline where it's Jefferson County really up and down 65 here that will be at risk for some of those stronger winds. Let me get you back to our home view, and I'll kind of animate this so you can kind of get the idea I'm talking about. As I mentioned before, it's on the other side of the radar beam now. So now that it is, we're able to get a better handle on the wind field on our side here of the beam on 65 from Fort Knox. And again, that is going to be the pinks you're going to be looking for. The brighter the pink, that's going to be the concern for some of the strongest, not only straight line wind, but also for that potential for any of the notches that can form. So here is Louisville area. Here's the Highlands. Here's the Waterston Expressway, I-65, Okolona, Fern Valley Road, Outer Loop, and the Snyder Freeway. Get down to the Jefferson Memorial Forest, which is why I think some of the strongest winds in an area that not even being measured right now. No one even knows what's going on there. So that may take until it gets to Hillview. I mean, you got a very short heads up there it's going to hit. And then you get down toward the western side here of Shepherdsville. Again, another strong wind field. I don't yet see anything. Okay, now that's a different signal there. We don't have anything yet that's confirming some of the stronger wind gusts, but we're getting close to getting that data as it is crossing I-65 there. Either way, as I mentioned before, you don't really have to get to that 58 miles per hour. That is a definition of a severe thunderstorm warning. Even a gust close to 50 miles per hour can cause tree damage with such a wet ground, and from the wind coming from a west direction versus a southwest direction we had earlier today, that it does cause usually some problems with our trees around here as it moves on by. Again, that bright pink is what we're watching. These scans, few minutes old. Takes a bit of time. This is moving, I think it was about 40 miles per hour off to the east, but officially the tornado warning will be out for another 30 minutes on the southern side for Bullitt County into Taylorsville Lake and the northern part of Nelson County, and we'll see what they do here with the warning as that moves right across the Louisville area, Ryan.
We've had several folks making calls to the authorities down in Hardin County. So far, no confirmed damage from this. It is moving toward the north and east, that tornado warning speed there at 40 miles per hour at this time. You'll see this little kink in the line. This is just south of Pitts Point. We're looking at Lebanon Junction, the I-65 corridor here, being next in line for this. This is not overly strong at this point, but it is still there. It is persisting, and that's why the tornado warning does continue for quite some time here. Shepherdsville, please note you are not in this, but you do have some very strong winds now moving through your neck of the woods. Despite the lack of a tornado warning, please make sure that you're inside, away from doors and windows in the severe thunderstorm warning. In the tornado warning, you need to be in a basement, first level of your house. If you don't have that, away from doors and windows, preferably like a center bathroom or hallway. Cover your head, wear sturdy shoes just in case, Brian.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you get debris outside. You don't want to be walking around this. Hopefully you're not out in it anyway, but that is certainly one of the risks there. So Ryan was talking about that little notch that's still showing up as we move across portions of Bullitt County. So anywhere along this line that is possible, but still very strong winds passing through. I didn't see the temperature updated at the airport, but I didn't see a wind change. At least it didn't get to the threshold of being anything significant. So that's interesting because it is now past the airport, now heading off to the east here. There is Shepherdsville. Here's Mount Washington. Let me kind of stop this as it moves on by. And again, it's crossing I-65 right now. Some of the stronger wind gusts are right there east of 65. Let me zoom in on that. Maybe very close to Highway 44, the way it's looking, was where that is located at. Hold on one second. My system's kind of gone nuts on me here. All right, here we go. Kind of zoom back down there. There's the Fort Plant, Fern Valley Road. Strong winds. There's GE, Moore High School. There's Fern Creek, McNeely Lake. And then again, you get all the way down here to, well, it's just north of Highway 44 that we're tracking that strong push of wind. This is where we could get a wind gust that could be over 50 miles per hour. Wouldn't surprise me. Maybe close to that. Ryan will maybe able to query that and see, but at least that's the strongest we see on the signature right now. But it's tracking right toward Mount Washington, heading right in that apex there of northeast Bullitt County. And Ryan, what do you got there?
Yeah, so right now moving toward Lebanon Junction, 64-mile-per-hour winds on radar here. Near Shepherdsville, we're querying 48-mile-per-hour winds. I'll try one more query there to see if we can get a stronger speed, and indeed we do. Looks like 54-mile-per-hour winds there. Just north of Lebanon Junction, 56. So at this point, these are very close to severe limits, either just over or just below that. 58 miles per hour is the threshold there. But these very well could be making it to the ground at this point. We are still waiting on ground confirmation of that. Again, 41-mile-per-hour gust at Fort Knox, and we had our own 35-mile-per-hour gust measured at a little weather station out in the Wave Weather Garden, surrounded on 3 sides by a building, which is pretty significant. So we'll continue to monitor for wind reports there and see what indeed takes place as these storms move over the I-65 corridor. Okay, let's hope these blow on by here and don't cause us any major problem. That'd be nice. We've had enough of that today and enough for a while. All right, wind updated 48 miles per hour. So it's below severe limits, but it is up there. And it certainly can cause some tree damage and even branch damage, of course, as it moves by. So 48 miles per hour for Ollie International. That's the number we got. Takes a little bit of time to come in the system, but that is what was measured. So that would be roughly what to expect as this moves on by, now that we got an idea of how this is going to balance out for us. And again, some of the stronger winds painting there right across portions of Highway 44 as you move into Bullitt County, all the way into southern Jefferson County, into Bullitt County, I should say. And then as you head down toward 65 at the Clermont area, getting closer to the tornado warning side, right there at Lebanon Junction. Now, this is where we've been tracking. At times, still got this notch that just doesn't want to go away. It's not a very well-defined one, but when you get these weak little spin-ups, they really don't get much more of a defined look than this. They're very, very odd looking, but just enough of a hint there, Ryan. Okay, Meade County reporting numerous trees down at this time. All right, so, excuse me, that's when the line passed through there. Do we have a time on that? We don't have a time on that at this point, but I think we can back up the radar here and kind of extrapolate that out ourselves. Sure. So let me back it up for us here, and I'll make that determination here. It looks like it's around 11:03-ish, if I had to guess, when that's moving through Brandenburg with those numerous trees down at this point. Numerous trees down in Brandenburg. Okay, well, that was when it was really approaching that. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had that, but again, it went into that cone of silence area of the radar, so it took a bit of time to get some data on that. But this is still what we're watching for, some of the stronger wind fields that are trying to build across the area. Roughly 40 to 50 mile per hour winds look to be the case here on this. You could get some isolated stronger, and you could still get a case where you can get an isolated tornado that can develop along it. Right now, with it being a little more of a straight up and down line, I doubt you're going to get much of a spin there. But Bullitt County, when you try to go against the flow there and you get a little more of a notch or a wiggle in the line, then you start to run into issues where you can get a brief spin up there. But we only had the one observed moment on the radar where the radar screamed, basically the Weather Service said, hey, we're indicating debris here. There's something going on, and the tornado warning came out because of that. But it only lasted a few moments. I really didn't see much more than that as it passed on by there. So I'm hoping this will continue to try to weaken down, but still a decent amount of wind is passing through the area and very heavy rainfall. Hopefully no one's out there driving this mess, because it is just pouring outside. Horrible visibility. We've seen that pretty much with any of these events today, but certainly with the setup tonight. So that tornado warning officially is out until we get to the about 20 minutes or so, until the top of the hour. We'll let you know if they decide to make any more adjustments to that or cancel it. It's a little more ragged looking than what it was, but interesting to see the cells that keep popping out in advance of this, indicating some of that wind is maybe trying to gust out a little more and more further to the east of this apex, which is pretty likely. And
decent sign, and we may hopefully get into a weakening trend here soon with these line of storms move by. The lightning count is within this range that you're looking at right now, and it's coming in at about 40 or so strikes in the past 10 minutes, which is not a lot. It's only scatter lighting, and most of it is cloud to cloud, just really bright flashes. If you don't have power, I'm sure it's kind of ominous right now. Everything in the house just lights up real bright, but that's the main issue there with that, and the wind and the heavy rain moving through. Ryan?
Okay, as these storms have now moved through a more populated area, we're getting several more reports from MPing, which you can find in your app store. It's an app you can upload damage reports to, and we can show them right here on TV. But you'll see Southwest Louisville, at least 3 separate reports between 1 and 3 out of 5 here. You'll see that one of these is like power poles snapped. That's a little bit closer there to Dixie Highway, just before you get to Shively there. So we'll monitor for confirmed damage reports out of that way. Again, this is just someone who went on their phone and said, hey, we've got this level of damage in my neighborhood right now. It's that orange that you see there. So, of course, we're going to be making some calls to MetroSafe to see indeed what may have happened down that way in southwest Jefferson County with some of the damage reports we're seeing from this second round of thunderstorms here.
Yeah, it doesn't look to be as many or as level upgrades on the reports as we saw with the first round today, which is good, but still the wind is getting everyone's attention. But we know that. We heard it here at the station. We saw it measured already, and they are going to still continue with that tornado warning. So they're going to keep with it. Shepherdsville, they have it listed near Shepherdsville. Shepherdsville is not in the warning, but it's just east of 65 is the official tornado warning that is out. So you guys around Radcliffe and Hardin County area have been cleared out of that. So really right now it's going to be just the eastern side of Bullitt County, just south of Mount Washington. As you go down the hill on the other side there on Bardstown Road, that is where you're going to run into that tornado warning again. That extends just west of Taylorsville Lake. Let me check out the wind fields. Keep an eye on that as it moves on by. I still think that even some very strong wind gusts are going to continue there in Louisville, so I think they'll continue that warning for a while. I don't see any reason why that would be let go, but still just be careful. Traveling, if you have to venture out, I just don't recommend. If you can, just stay at home and don't get out in this mess, because water covered roadways is going to be one of the bigger issues, because we've been noticing several flood advisories and flash flood warnings are coming out further along this line down the road here. So I think that's going to be another issue we're going to have as we head to the next few moments. All right, get you to some of the communities we're talking about that continues right now. We don't have any definitive spot. We don't have a report of a tornado that is on the ground or anything of that nature. Right now, we got just radar indicated that we're getting as the line is moving east of I-65 around Lotus. There's R-8245 as you get a little closer there to the distilleries. Then you get Burnham Forest area. Then there's High Grove. And you got, again, strong winds tracking in your direction as well off to the east at a good clip. This radar, it takes a few minutes to update, so it's more than likely already to the other side of what I'm showing you. It's probably already into High Grove, all the way down to near Samuels, Kentucky, and Cox's Creek, and not too far away to the south as you get closer to maybe even Samuels Field. That's probably the issue. So let me get back to the home view and show you again the entire line. And we're going to look at this just from a wind perspective instead of rain, to kind of give you an idea of why we have the warnings that we do have in place. And a lot of that is just because of the apex, the little bowing out we have of this line. Let me draw that for you guys. That is what is the trigger for majority of this right across Louisville, is right through here. As this pushes by, you can get these little notches, brief little spin ups that can happen. This is moving so fast, you're not going to be under this threat for long. So that's some good news. But as you venture all the way down, you're going to run into still some very strong warnings down to the south. All right, they're about ready to cancel the warning, it looks like. So the tornado warning is about to be dropped. So that's some good news. So that would just leave us just the severe thunderstorm warning only for the metro. And really, it's 65, east of 65 is what we're talking about for some of those stronger winds. All right, let me get you to the other warning. This is going to be in our very far southern sections here into Hart County. Just want to mention that because they've been tracking all the storms down into areas right around Bowling Green, and looking at the tornado warning set up there they've had the past few moments. All right, so that's the latest. There is the severe thunderstorm warning. Still a tornado possible, but we'll watch and see what they do with this tornado warning that is in the Bowling Green area. They've got it listed at 60 miles per hour heading. It takes about 30 minutes or so to really get to that warning area to the south and east. Again, that is just outside of wave country, but it does include Hart County, Munfordville, along basically all the way down to about Glasgow, Barron County, into Allen County, Kentucky. So that's just kind of an update as we are tracking the southern part of that line as well. So we're almost through this, guys. I mean, this is moving in fairly fast and moving out fast. That's a good thing for all of us. We just don't want to deal with this mess all night. So right now, it's just really going to be that strong wind in that little apex portion of it. And we'll see if that can power up a bit more of a wind field into E-Town. We were mentioning southern Hardin County earlier. Looked a little odd, and where its placement was, we could get some enhancement. That is still possible. The warnings may try to connect across Nelson County down through LaRue County in the next, say, 30 minutes or so, Ryan.
Okay, just got an update from LG&E here. We have added about 6,000 customers in Jefferson County to the current power outage. So these storms are causing the power outages to expand in Louisville. So we're now up to 36,832 customers without power in the Louisville metro area. Hello, Meade County. I want to mention you here. You're lighting up like a Christmas tree here on the map. 22% of customers tracked in Meade County. This is Eckerd, Brandenburg, Muldra areas a little closer to Flaherty there. 3,358 customers without power of the 1,500 tracked. So definitely some impressive winds have just moved. And the report of multiple trees down. You see the live LG&E map there with the kind of clusters of different outages across their service area right now. But again, here in the Louisville metro area, Jefferson County, 36,000 without power. That's up from about 30,000 just about half an hour ago here. So it's getting worse, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we were looking at some of the details of that map earlier, Ryan. It's some areas that a lot of big populated areas within Louisville, but certainly the east end, but really anywhere from Fern Creek and J-Town all the way into Prospect and River Road. So still tracking some very strong winds. And they've updated this to where it's still going with a potential, at least possible tornado type setup that could still develop in one of those little notches as it moves in to the eastern side of the metro, heading into Shelby County here for the next little bit. And I don't like seeing the cells pop in advance of it. While that may seem odd, you don't want that. That in a sense can cause, at times, you can get some enhancements, some of the rotation with that as they try to collide ahead of the line itself there. But so far, they seem to be trending along with it. We'll see what happens in the next few moments there. Let me get you to the wind field again, because we're watching that more than anything. Yes, heavy rain is a big ordeal, but certainly the wind is going to be quite strong as well as it moves on by. So now we're looking at some of the brighter pinks listed there across Oldham County into the western side of Shelby County, right there in Middletown, too. Nice little spike in the wind indicated. I'm not seeing the wind as strong into Mountain Washington, all the way into western side there of Spencer County, but still a decent amount of wind. So that the wind's really focusing a little more on the northern side here of that warning, which is set to expire in about 15 minutes from now, as we're watching. Oops, let me get back up here to the north. And again, this is where we'll be watching for maybe some development of stronger wind gusts near Simpsonville, Middletown. I would say up to about Chestnut Grove. You get into areas there into Shelby County. There's Tots Point. There's Centerfield as well. Let me kind of give you a wider view on this. And right around Centerfield and heading toward I-71 and Buckner, Kentucky, get some strong winds. You may get a gust up there close to 50 miles per hour. Even at Ollie International, we're still gusting over 40. So it's a pretty decent wind now for about 15, 20 minutes. That is happening in Louisville, even though the worst of it is actually now off to the east at the moment. Ryan, called you Brian.
No,
Ryan, are we getting any wind reports from the Kentucky Mesolets? Yeah, because I know we're getting into a little more of a populated area at some of our stations there.
Yeah, at this point, the Kentucky Mesonet does have a 62-mile-per-hour gust in the Bowling Green area, but as far as locally, we got 36 miles per hour in Hardin County, 23 miles per hour out there in Grayson County. Nothing extreme yet. One thing I do want to at least kind of put a bookmark on is we are waiting to hear on word about damage from the potential tornado debris that we've had on radar earlier. Kevin Harnett is working his sources here, and we may indeed have some confirmation of damage down near Vine Grove. We're still working on that. We'll give you the specifics once we're able to get that. But right now, it looks like, you know, that debris that we saw on radar, that wasn't nothing, if you will. Something got picked up, and we're trying to figure out what happened with that at this point.
Yeah, and once we get past the storms here this evening, we'll be able to look back at that, as well as the Weather Service will be as well, to try to gauge what took place in the area. It was a relatively small feature, but that's pretty common when you get into the setup. They're brief and relatively small in size, but boy, they can do damage. All right, still watching the southern part of the line. There's no warning yet on this one, or at least not to this point, but I still think there's still a decent wind here that's sort of right into Bardstown. So watch out for wind gusts. It could get up to about 50 miles per hour, even around Nelson County, down into LaRue. We'll monitor this and see whether or not a warning gets issued and connects all of that as it tracks off to the east. It gets a little further away from the radar beam, too. That gives us a better handle on some of those stronger winds. But again, just kind of a heads up, a burst of wind certainly into Bardstown. We'll be monitoring the SkyTrack camera there as we get a little closer to, as it moves on the other side there of the Boston community and along the Bluegrass Parkway, even down in Hodgenville. Some of that wind try to enhance at times. Tornado threat it's not zero, it's not high either, so I don't want to overplay that, but it is still just a very low end tornado threat, brief. But these little notches is what we got to watch for, and sometimes they can appear on one scan, and as soon as we update the radar, it's gone again. So they're very, very brief, but they can still cause some problems. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we're monitoring. Between the both of us here, kind of just seeing how things are going to evolve. And again, you see that apex and that strong wind. You see it change color because, again, it's on the other side of the radar, so the wind's blowing away from the radar beam, so it changes color to indicate that. But it's certainly a strong push right there in the southern part of the metro, all the way down into Hart County at the moment. Now, let me, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to try to clear off some spots, so let me do that. I mentioned earlier parts of Indiana, but looks like now Jackson's good. Washington County, Indiana, I don't see a problem. Floyd County looks fine. And okay, they updated the wind for Louisville. It's 52 miles per hour is what it's been updated to now, and that was at the bottom of the hour. So they got a halfway report. They came in. So 52, that's about 10 less than what it had earlier today, but still up there, close to severe limits, only a few miles per hour away. All right, I'm going to clear Harrison County, Indiana, clear Meade County and Breckenridge as well from a severe wind potential, and hopefully we'll be able to clear some more counties here very soon. But right now, a good chunk of the area along 65 Indiana west and very close to Louisville down to E-Town. The threat is starting to diminish by the minute. It's really going to be our focus here on our eastern side of wave country all the way down to about Horse Cave, Kentucky. That's a spot we need to watch for still some strong winds and a brief spinning that can happen to create a tornado warning that does look to be at least isolated there. And they're clearing off some of that watch too, it looks like, tornado watch. Some of those counties I just mentioned are already being cleared. So again, better news by the minute here, guys. We're almost there. Hang tight. We still got another official 10 minutes or so here on this severe thunderstorm. We're going to be watching carefully, Ryan.
Yeah, I just got a video from a viewer here. Thanks to Erica sending in a photo or a video, I should say, of some violent wind moving through the Corydon area. This was earlier in the hour, by the way. There was folks who lived in a trailer or a mobile home taking shelter inside of a Waffle House and taking some video of what they were seeing at the Waffle House. Wise idea there. If you live in a mobile home and you're in this kind of situation where you've been under a tornado warning, go to another structure, one that, of course, can offer you some better protection against a possible tornado there. And I also wanted to just kind of give you an update on what we're seeing on social media, any sort of reports there. We've had one photo of a tree down in southwest Jefferson County right now. MetroSafe says they don't have an update on anything, but we do at least have the one photo down of, or a photo, I should say, of a tree down in Valley Station. Thanks to Aaron for sending that in to us. We're trying to get that cleared for air here. But at the moment, not seeing anything extreme damage-wise here in the Louisville Metro just yet.
Yeah, I've gotten some emails. I'm able to check everything where I'm at right now, but I did see one report, I believe, of a tree that may have been down in Valley Station.
Yep, that's the one I think both of us may have gotten that one.
Okay, all right. So that's what I'm still waiting to hear to the extent of what that was. Bardstown, here's the camera view there. This is where the next area that'll be hit. Look how quiet it is at the moment, but it's about to be anything but that as these storms are getting close to you. I mean, right now there's no warning for you guys. It's mainly just going to be a wall of rain and wind, maybe up to 50 miles per hour. Seems to be the case so far with these gusts. The only thing that's been concerning on any type of damage that we've had so far for the overnight hours has been really the brief tornado signature or debris signature that we had that was located very close to the radar beam right there into the northern side of Hardin County, very close to the radar beam is where we got that little notch that showed up. That has continued on and then faded at times, but it's still part of the southern part of that severe thunderstorm, and then it continues as it's racing now into the Spencer County area. But it lost that signature fairly quick, so we haven't seen it since then. And so far, that is really our main issue. It's going to be this section of the line. It has failed to connect north of Madison So you guys will likely get lucky, and this is probably going to pass you, and maybe Carroll, you'll be close. I'm getting by that without having to worry about anything that could turn severe. But as long as you're on the leading edge of this entire complex, you still got to be weather aware of that potential for a warning or two. But we're almost there. This is really the last. This is the last phase that this system is going to go through, and then it's done. And it's going to run out of gas. It's running into an environment that has no gas available, so it has no choice but to basically just rain itself out. And that will be the next process we'll see between now and about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. All this will begin to fade. Look, all the flash flood warnings are out. Again, we can't ignore that. I think that's going to be an issue at times for some flash flooding. And the only place where now we've got some wind potential will be along that line, and also out of that complex of storms moving out. Portions of Butler County, or actually east of Butler County, not far from Edmonson County and northern Barron County. That's the area to watch too. That may still give you maybe some strong winds into Hart County into Kentucky. Ryan?
Okay, we've been working our sources here down in northern Hardin County. So far, Vine Grove Public Works says they don't have any damage, and we're not being able to find much damage at all. This is going to be Lincoln Trail near Logsdon Parkway. So we're not seeing a whole lot out of that little tornado debris signature that we saw. Again, that may be so minute and may have gone through such an unpopulated area, maybe some trees at best there, being, kind of inhaled into that storm. So we'll continue to watch for those reports as they come in. But at this point, we have nothing significant from northern Hardin County, which is a little bit surprising given the signature we saw earlier. But given how rural it is there, that might make sense. Yeah.
Very much so. And again, we're trying to get a lot of things confirmed. This is the tough part, is when you get to this time of night, especially on holiday weekend, it's tough to get as many reports in to confirm things as what we would have like earlier today in the daytime period. And on top of that, it is still raining and thundering out. So a lot of people haven't had a chance to even go outside to look to see what has happened. So sometimes those reports get a bit delayed on coming in. So that's why we just got to treat it as we see it on the data and the reports we're getting from all of our instruments along the path. And let's hope that the ground truth is a little different than what we have. But so far, this is not a very ominous look here. All right, this line was way worse. Even just an hour and a half ago, it was way worse than what it is now. So this is certainly a much tamer version of what we had, but still strong enough that it's going to mess up travel issues across the area. Very heavy rainfall, flash flooding potential could still develop here rapidly, and we could still get some pockets of the wind will try to surge up. But it's missing a few items that on its checklist that it had earlier, and seems to be working in our favor. As long as time is in our favor in this whole thing, as long as we can wait this out and get this to the east, the better off we're going to be, and we'll get it out of here as quick as we can. But at the moment, we still got at least, I would say, 20-30% of our viewing area, Ryan, it still has to get through this line.
Right, so we're going to be on here good to the last drop until the threat is over here. We do have some updates from MPing, which again is this app that you can download onto your phone and make storm reports on that we can show here on TV. It's from the National Weather Service and University of Oklahoma. Several more of these red icons, 4 out of 5 damage level. We're talking like trees uprooted, now showing up. At least one of these I can cross off because I know it's from the earlier storms. I'm going to cross off this one in J-Town. That one's from earlier today. But those other 3 that you see, those are concerning. And what I think may be happening here is we've got the wind in the other direction from what we had earlier today, now hitting these trees that were weakened by the storms earlier, and a wet ground, and you've got these trees probably just toppling over, root ball and everything, hence the uprooted designation on there. You can literally see the tree roots here. So those 3 new red icons here, one a little closer to the Old Henry Road exit there on the Snyder, and then another one a little closer to literally the National Weather Service office down there. Yeah. We're watching those reports coming in at this point from MPing, and of course, if we have anything from the authorities here in Jefferson County, we'll pass that along too.
Okay, all right, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. Yeah, we don't like seeing that kind of report like that level into Louisville, but it again would not surprise you, just because again the wind has been shifting around from what we had earlier today, and the wet ground. Time after time again, when I've seen these scenarios play out, the wind damage in a very saturated flooding type situation, the wind damage reports always seem to go up. So this is not surprising, and that's the reason why it's kind of confusing, because you really can get wind damage even without a warning in this scenario. You just have to be just close to it, and you can still run into some problems there. So we need to watch it. A bit of an uptick there into Trimble County. So let me check on you guys real quick and make sure you're all right. As we got some, at least a little bit more of enhancement. Lightning has certainly picked up. That's going to move right into Carroll. I hope that's not a notch there, but we'll check. It's in the northern part of the actual line itself, and sometimes you can get a little bit of a spin that can develop there. Well, it's not the greatest of signatures. It certainly is something to watch. Campbellsburg up 71 and near Carrollton. So it's really east of Bedford. Nothing wild here just yet. Ryan, I know you're checking on some of this too, but that is we're going to be watching for maybe a bit of enhancement. Could get a warning out of that. It's going to be close. We do have a couple of mezzonets in that area, so we'll see if we get anything as it moves on by there in the next few moments.
Yeah, Shelby County with a 34-mile-per-hour gust there, and that one is located near Simpsonville, so this is pretty live here.
Okay. Yeah, well, those cells have really popped up too right there in front of Frankfurt than we had earlier.
We got to watch those.
Really, the one in trouble here is in Carroll. It seems to be one of the stronger ones we've got that we have along this line. So we'll be watching as it crosses by the area. All right, Oldham County, let's go to the reporting here by the police department. Multiple trees are down in Oldham County. So you're still under warning to Oldham County, but that is the section of the line that is now into Campbellsburg. So we'll see if we get another additional type of warning on that, if this can hold. But I think right now that is the strongest part of the wind into Henry County area. They came out again right out of Oldham and headed off to the east there, Ryan. So,
Eminence 64 mile per hour on radar, not ground truth, by the way. Campbellsburg, that brightness that you see there, that is 67 miles per hour.
Okay. So it's right at that point. Again, we're close to warning level. We'll see if they put out a warning for this because it's been very close to that. And again, with the report now that we're getting from the police department of trees being knocked down into Oldham County, the same thing may be happening here. So I would say at this point, just be prepared for some power flashes that may happen in your home here, or you could even get power outages. But just stay in, again, your safe spot. I'm sure most of you are. This is not a time of night, meaning you're going to be leaving the house to go grocery shopping or anything. But get the idea that just be careful traveling between Campbellsburg, Newcastle, Eminence, and then we'll see if that heads off to the east a little more into the eastern side there of Henry County. But that looks to be the strongest we've got at the moment of some of the stronger wind fields. Although, Ryan, you're picking up some strong winds into Bardstown right now.
Yeah, this is concerning. This is Boston, Kentucky. This is New Haven. I'm picking up 68 to 70 mile per hour winds detected on radar. This is in southern parts of Nelson County right now and eastern LaRue. So we're going to watch that very closely. It's possible we could get a downstream warning from that if the National Weather Service believes that's going to make it to ground level here. But the issue is are those winds actually getting down to ground level at this point and causing damage? That remains to be seen at this point.
That's been a kind of a questionable spot that we've had here for a while on being close to warning level or not. So we'll see if that holds. It's interesting. It's trying to uptick again on the eastern side there. But again, that's the area that Ryan's talking about, just south really of the warning that we're tracking. But nothing too ominous was into Bardstown, which was good. But still, as the line's crossing into the areas around New Haven and off to the east, looks like they put out a special weather statement anyway for Henry County area. For the strong wind potential there. Again, roughly around 50 miles per hour. But right around Bardstown, New Haven, there's Howardstown. That's a spot that they're watching that, again, could have some strong wind gusts. The lightning count is not very high. That has certainly decreased over the past few moments. And I think that's it on warnings. Let me double check, but I think we're out of the warning level right now. I hope we can stay at that level because we only have just a little bit longer to go to get this by here, but this should expire in less than 60 seconds. Actually, less than 30 seconds, this will be expired. So at the moment, when we get to the top of the hour officially, we want to have any active warnings at play, but we're not entirely out of the woods yet on this. We're almost there. Just got to keep an eye on that area. Again, roughly around Carroll County, eastern side of Henry County, eastern side of Shelby, heading toward Frankfurt. Also eastern side of Spencer, Nelson County, Marion, Washington, into Kentucky, and then Greene, Taylor, and Adair, and southern LaRue. So that's just a southeast slither that we need to watch as this moves on by. You tend to watch, or you tend to have more problems that can develop the little apex portion of this that move through Louisville. So that is a spot to watch. And that's where we have the most lightning, too, has been found still across this section as you head into Carrollton, which there's a Kentucky mesonet there into Carrollton, but I don't think we've had anything strong there. We would have probably heard.
No, 5 miles per hour.
Okay, yeah. So it may be missing it altogether, or it's really, really tame. But either way, it's past through there, and there's the Eminence area. We have also, I think, a gauge in Eminence, so we'll find out and when it passes there shortly. Same in Shelbyville, heading toward Wadley, Kentucky. We may get some data on that. And then in Bardstown, we may get some data. But so far, we have someone that helps us in reporting a lot of that data from Lake Kentucky Mesonet, and they have not stated anything that is alarming yet. And we haven't had any reports of damage in the past few moments as these storms move on by. But Brian showed you a second ago where we have reports of at least some trees that have either been uprooted or at least some type of damage that has happened in Jefferson County alone, Ryan.
Yeah, and then we also have a report near Fort Knox, a tree down on Shepherdsville Road and Battle Training Road. That's about the only report that we can confirm from that area where the tornado warning was earlier. And I do want to show you the Bardstown SkyTrack camera because the storms, the kind of the meat of those storms is now moving through there. Put an arrow where that's at. And you'll notice that the flags there, kind of on the left side, in fact, I can draw on this and I'll be able to show you exactly where I'm looking here. Right there. Check out those flags. See, they're waving, but they're not going absolutely nuts. It's raining in sheets. There's lightning there. None of this screams severe thunderstorm to me right now, which is good. And this has been one of the spots we were checking in Nelson County. So I don't think, at least in Nelson right now, at least Bardstown in Nelson County, that we've got severe wind gusts making it to ground level right now. So it's good to always have the ground truth. The radar's great, but a pair of eyes or a SkyTrack camera is always the best thing to have.
Exactly. And normally at this point, guys, we don't have any warnings. We would be back to normal programming, but at the moment we don't have any special programming going on for with NBC. So that's the reason why that we're trying to just do a service to you guys and making sure that you're aware, put some minds at ease. It's been an active day today. We've been talking about this day for over a week. We're now at the tail end of this entire threat, which is good. So we just want to make sure that you guys are aware where we stand on this as we are now crossed over into officially Memorial Day now at 2 minutes after the top of the hour. So we'll see what happens here as this crosses the Bluegrass Parkway the next few moments. Let's try to cut down any of these cells that keep trying to pop in advance. You don't want that. So hopefully those will stay away from the main line. They don't want to merge together, but certainly still keeping that strong wind field. Lightning count within this view, 57. Current strikes that we've got rolling through the area, and still getting winds, by the way, of over 30 miles per hour into Louisville, even after the storm's already passed by. So it's windy outside, windy and rainy, just mess out there. There's the line in motion. There's a little bit of a bit of a merger right there. Looks like it may have happened southeast of Shelbyville. I'll look at that here in a second. Not as much lightning there. If we had a lot of lightning concentrated there, I'd be a little more worried, but I don't see that. Same with the little small cell that has popped up in advance there into Washington County, Kentucky. Otherwise, most of your lightning seems to be a little more down to the south. So let's get a little closer view. Let's go into eastern areas here of Shelby County, watching that cell as it moves on by. No warnings right now. All those expired as at the top of the hour. This is the area that we're watching as we head along US 60 and I-64 here southville. Let me stop the radar so you can at least see what's going on. And again, that's tracking Red River Figs heading toward Mount Eden, Kentucky, heading just south of Grafenberg. And you can see there's G, Kentucky. We got the strong wind field pushing in not far from Mount Eden. And that strong wind field is what we need to watch. We'll see if we can get a gauge on that. Hold on one second. As it moves on, it just moved past Little Mount. Pretty good wind in that area. So I would say close to about 40 to 50 miles per hour in some cases there as it moves on by. And certainly along I-64 there, but nothing official has came into play as of yet. But still, you can get those gusts that can surge upward, and that's what can catch you off guard. Here's the wider view of the wind field. Ooh, boy, I didn't see that down in the southern part there of Nelson County. That's pretty strong.
I think that,
okay.
There's the warning.
There's the warning. As I say, I think that looks a little ominous there. Okay, let's get right into it. There it is, near Bardstown. Again, that's heading to the south and to the east, heading into Marion County. The official warning stats. This is going to take us for about another 45 minutes or so for this particular warning to get issued. So let's bring that up and show you. We got officially about 31,000 people on the path here. Washington County, Greene, Taylor, and Marion all included in that. Only a small slither there of Greene County. But it's officially till 12:45 Eastern time. Nothing overly ominous on the tags here. Pretty basic on the severe thunderstorm warning criteria of strong gusty winds. But again, you get a couple cells like that can pop up. We get that strong wind field kind of enhanced in the area. That's the reason why, again, that's getting a bit more of our attention as that moves through areas of LaRue County and again right there into southern areas of Nelson County, marching quickly into Marion, Nelson, all the way down into northern Taylor County there, Ryan.
So I have queried some of these pixels here, and I'm not going to show you this on the air because I don't think it's right. But this blue right here, very strong winds. I think the radar's got a little bit of interference or something going on with it because it's showing numbers that just don't make sense. But nonetheless, you'll get the idea here that we do have that 60+ mile per hour wind gust potential now moving into Holy Cross, northwestern part there of Marion County. If you live in Springfield, if you live in Lebanon there, or Willisburg, you need to be away from doors and windows. The very center part of where you live. I know a lot of folks may live in condos or apartments here. That's just going to be away from doors and windows. Just make sure that you're putting as many walls between you and, of course, the outside as you can with these very strong winds moving in. Just want to make sure, out of an abundance of caution, that we're doing that tonight. No tornado potential with this at this time. This looks to be just straight line winds, but, you know, it's moving into a part of wave country here with a fair amount of people. And, you know, if you know some folks down in like Holy Cross, Lebanon, in fact, there we go. Now I can start querying this because the interference looks like it's gone away there. So now Holy Cross has on radar 64 mile per hour gusts there. Looks like 70 mile per hour. Again, this is radar indicated wind potential here aloft. So somewhere between about 65, 70 miles per hour, possibly moving into Holy Cross right now. Give your friends in Holy Cross a call. Say, hey, wake up. Just make sure you're away from doors and windows. Batten down the hatches. Here we go. Big old batch of wind now moving into the area that's right on the border of Nelson and Marion counties, Brian.
Yeah, it seems to always be the issue, too. We got these strong winds aloft, and the question is whether or not some of this can get tapped into and pushed down to the ground level or not. So a lot of this is, a lot of cautionary work, but we have had, some trees that have been knocked down. Even in Louisville, the winds came by with the official gust of 52 miles per hour. So even with those kind of wind fields, you can still get some wind damage. So I think that's the reason why they're watching this. Plus, you have a very define what we call a line of delineation, which is indicating you can get some strong winds that can form too on the leading edge there of the rain as it moves on by. It's a little bit more of a defined area on that, and they connected all the rest of the warning there. So we've got everyone now in the southeast section under this severe thunderstorm warning that's been branched all the way out. And this will probably be the last, I think, of the warnings we're going to get here. I don't think we're going to get any more beyond this point. So this looks to be it. So let me kind of get you through the stats on this warning. Again, this is going to be the one that's on the southern side of this entire line. They do list that as tour possible on that. It is listed at expiring at about the same time as the northern side of that will be, which will be about 45 minutes after the hour. I think the worst of that, and I think Ryan's looking at that too, is going to be a little more on the southern side of Hart County, maybe even into Barron County, especially without lightning is really concentrated. Maybe a little more of the issue there that we may have with some of the higher potential on those winds there, Ryan.
Yeah, so we're going to be tracking, of course, the winds inside this at the moment here. And Glasgow is currently getting rocked by this storm. And I think that's going to be the sort of highest winds that we see is just south of Hart County with this particular storm, as we were just discussing. That's kind of where the core of this storm is. That's out of our viewing area. However, Greene, Taylor, and Adair counties, you folks are in our viewing area. And this is making a beeline to you along US 68 right now. So if you're in Columbia, if you're in Fry, Kentucky, if you're in Greensburg, keep an eye out. You're under this severe thunderstorm warning right now. It's moving through Glasgow. We'll see what it does. But right now, since this is kind of one of these more southern storms that we're tracking, it may have more ingredients to work with, a bit more instability. Would not shock me if this ended up being a more significant thunderstorm than what we've seen probably over about the past 20 minutes or so, Brian.
Yeah, well, the lightning certainly is a good indicator, too, because we've seen that for the first time really in a while here as really begun to spike. Let me get rid of this warning here so you can kind of see what we're tracking. Put on the wind velocity here, and again, we're tracking those little notches. And of course, right there into in Barron County itself, in Glasgow, that seems to be the most concern there as it's tracking off to the east. We'll see if that can develop or not, or if it's a temporary little signature, which has been the case in a few of the storms here tonight. But all the way down just on the southern side there of our viewing area, that's where we're watching for some of those stronger wind fields. Okay, I'm going to get you back up to the north. We'll continue to watch that. We're not going to ignore you guys down there in Greensburg or in Campbellsville. So got to watch this strong wind field that is pushing in right there into western side of Washington County, Kentucky, moving right into Marion. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. I think the next gauge we're going to get is probably going to just be Marion County on being able to measure some of these winds in this section here, and maybe Campbellsville, but I think Marion County.
Yeah, Marion
maybe
would be
the
next.
first that we may see. It may take a bit of time to get there.
Right.
So we got a few moments, but just about looking at how the wind is arranged on that, I could certainly see why the warning is out. That potential to get some of those stronger wind fields is in play. Were we monitoring all reports in case we get any type of wind damage whatsoever as these move on by? But this is really, I think, the last of the warnings that we've got of this system, and that's going to take us until about 45 minutes after.
Hart County has a 42-mile-per-hour wind gust within the last few minutes there at the Kentucky Mesonet site. Marion, of course, this is not quite hit there yet. 20 miles per hour, kind of the pre-storm winds, if you will. LaRue County with a 30-mile-per-hour wind gust. And I've popped up some of the wind damage reports here, too. And you can see that they're starting to populate down in central Kentucky. Hart County has several parts of their area there with wind damage reports, and quite a few minor wind damage reports now across the Louisville metro area. We do have some fresh wind damage reports, of course, from areas a little closer to southwest LaRue County, south and west of Hodgenville there. That would be near Magnolia, Kentucky at this time. And that's kind of a 2 out of 5 on the wind damage scale that you can pick from here on this MPing app that we can source data from, and you can send reports into. Just search your app store there. The western part of Marion County also picking up one of those reports. So we're starting to see more of these mount. I think the wind damage is not as pronounced as it was earlier today, but as folks are starting to kind of look outside and go, well, I just lost a couple of tree branches here, I think we're going to see these light up a little bit more here with this line of storms now moving into southern Kentucky.
All right, and they've had a history, too, of producing damage on the southern side of that flank especially, so I think that's the reason why they're kind of keeping a little bit of extra caution to that. And at times, this is trying to have a little bit of a blowing out that's happening along this, so this is still a very impressive, at least on the wind fields above the heads there, above the tree line. As we move into areas near the parkways and just south, that's the area to watch, that we can get some of those stronger wind gusts that can easily get to severe potential, which will be right at about that 59-mile-per-hour mark, which is certainly possible. At the moment, it's past Bardstown, still windy in Bardstown, but the worst of that leading edge is past you. So this is mainly now Washington County, all the way into the central side here of Marion County. We're tracking into Taylor County and the northern part there of Greene County. Those look to be the main spots that we're going to watch as these storms move on by the area for those stronger wind fields. Let me get you back to the radar so we can kind of keep an eye on the rain side of this. And there's some development. Again, anytime you get that development like that, that pops in advance, it can cause a complexity where you can get a brief tornado warning that can develop in that situation. So we need to watch that because these cells that have been popping up to the advanced areas, you head toward Anderson County, and the same story into Marion and Adair. When those cells pop like that, you can get sometimes some very brief rotation on the leading edge of that very strong wind field above the storm itself, and there's still a decent amount of lightning. Lightning is a good, helpful tool as well. When we see a concentration of that, you could run into more problems with a strengthening or weakening if you see a lessening of the lightning. And that continues all the way down to Greensburg. In Louisville, by the way, in case you're wondering, Louisville's out of the warning status. In Louisville, it's just rain and some gusty winds, but Louisville is in the clear on severe weather. We can clear Louisville, we can clear Bullitt County, Clark County, clear Jefferson County, Indiana, Scott County. You guys are out of the woods on additional threat here on severe weather. It's mainly just heavy rain and some lightning and a gusty wind, but nothing to severe limits. It's all on the eastern side, Ryan.
Okay, I want to just do a little round robin of damage reports I've just gotten in here. So we do have a roof off a house in Meade County on Knox Avenue. That just coming in from Kevin Harnett here. They're checking around in Radcliffe some more too to see if there's any sort of other damage. Nothing more than a couple trees down at this time. Nelson County reporting no damage at this time. Louisville, Jefferson County, we're now up to 39,000 customers without power. That is 9,000 more than when we started this evening round. So we've added a good chunk of folks, unfortunately, into the power outage count here in the Louisville area from LG&E. Bullitt County now reporting about 9% of customers out. And of course, Hardin County, about 2%, 1,100 customers out at this point. These numbers may expand a bit as more data gets cycled through through that poweroutage.us clearinghouse system there, and we're able to see more of what's going on at the ground level there, Brian.
And some of that, too, could be additional transformers that could be blowing with some tree limbs that have maybe broken and fallen. And again, we've had some additional wind at time around 30 miles per hour, maybe that falls, and it can still lead to some additional outages. And in some cases, in Louisville especially, the way they handle the power grid, they have to sometimes shut down other sections to repair. So there's a lot of things happening there, but no doubt LG&E is going to be busy. It's going to be busy for the next couple of days, so give the crews some space there to get all this cleaned up over the next couple of days. All right, I'm sure we'll be telling you more about tree debris drop-offs and everything else that'll be coming into play as we head past the Memorial Day weekend. Okay, so heading up to the east, again, this is our main area that we're watching right now for the strongest of winds. Still seeing a bit of that conglomerate there that's trying to form into Washington County, into Kentucky. Bringing this up, not seeing anything significant yet, but it's developing, you know, a bit of a notchness, if you will, wiggles to that line where we're getting some of those cells that are popping in advance that are trying to cause a little bit of that brief spin there. So that's where we're watching. I don't see anything alarming on that. I'm just kind of talking out loud of what I'm monitoring right now from that area. Okay, that was in Hart County. That's a report you had earlier, right, Ryan? In Horse
Yes,
Cave?
I do believe so.
Okay. All right, just wanted to make sure on that. Let me get you back into the radar side. And again, we're going to be tracking some very heavy rain. In fact, the rainfall rate has really ramped up there across Washington County there. So we may get close to flood advisory type level for parts of at least Marion and Washington County in Kentucky. We may see that here very soon as that line races there off to the south and to the east. It may even be slowing down just a tad on the southern flank there compared to what we had on the northern side. Ryan?
Yeah, so we'll continue to watch that. Of course, with the speed of these storms going eastbound at 55 miles per hour, you'll see that they're going to get out of here in a hurry. Lebanon, you're going to be affected at 12:19. Campbellsville, you guys are pretty much getting in on this as we speak, about 12:24 here. But once we head toward, gosh, it's currently 12:17 a.m. here. I think by 12:45, we're going to have most of these storms out of our area. We'll be able to clear all of our counties. So we're still hanging on to our very southern tier of counties here: Greene, Taylor, Adair County, and parts of Washington and Marion as well. Always good to the last drop on our southern Kentucky counties, but we're here with you until the end. That's why we do the jobs that we do here, is to serve all 34 of our counties, not just the Louisville metro area.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. And yeah, you're right. You're just watching the last little gasp here of these warnings and cells in the southeast section. We've got our newsroom busy. They're constantly checking to see what is happening with some of the reports that we were getting earlier, whether it was rotation or a debris signature on our radar, or even some of the measured wind gusts to see if we got any damage. Ryan?
Yeah. And speaking of that, as we live and breathe here, Radcliffe City on Facebook says, right now we have no confirmed tornado touchdown in Radcliffe City limits, but the fire chief is out surveying the area, according to Mayor Duval there. So we're still kind of, jury is out on what has happened down near Radcliffe, down near Vine Grove, but maybe as the sun rises tomorrow, we might have more clarity on that. Yeah,
because we're seeing some images that we're trying to get confirmed on whether or not there was a funnel or some type of tornado that may have formed there into Radcliffe. We had that measured on the radar beam, and that was about an hour, 20 minutes ago. When we saw that signature on the radar. So there's a lot to be done really tomorrow once we get into the daylight part of the day to do a lot of analysis there. But the good news is we can pass on is there's nothing threatening right now that is happening to cause anything to that level on damage or anything. It's mainly just a wall of heavy rain and wind that can easily get up there, you know, around 50 miles per hour, maybe up to 60. I haven't seen anything that's been too high. The highest I probably witnessed was down in our southern counties outside of our viewing area. They got over 60 miles per hour. This particular round, I think Louisville may be the highest. They came in at 52 miles per hour as those storms passed through. So, but we do have a few more gauges. These are passing through right now into Marion, Washington County. So we may get an update and get a little more ground truth on what is developing there as these pass on by. But as you've already witnessed, a lot of these reports are a bit delayed on getting into the area. If you're watching right now and you're wondering, in Louisville, turn TV on late at night here. While we're on, we're only covering severe weather here on the far southeast side here of wave country. The rest of the area has quieted down dramatically compared to what we had earlier. We started off with supercells. Tornadoes are on the ground doing damage. to the west of Wave Country. It was a very busy start to the evening, but we've really seen things kind of relax quite a bit compared to what we had earlier on into the evening hours. This is a good thing. We're, again, in the last little gasp here of this line. It's trying to feed on whatever it can on the southeast side and trying to produce a bit of an uptick on some of the intensity on these showers and storms. The problem is this section here, Hart County into Greene. This was initially part of some of that rotation that was a possible tornado that was back toward the northern side of Bowling Green. So that still may be embedded in that as it tracks there along our southern counties. Sometimes that little spin can hold on, maybe masked at times, but it may be still a factor as it tries to drift toward the Adair County area. So that's one reason we got to watch that a little closer as it moves on by. And then we got just a big conglomerate there of some gusty winds that have at least shown up on the radar aloft. We were trying to get some ground truth to that, but so far we haven't. And that will eventually be moving out. Frankfort is next to get in some gusty winds and rain, already doing so now. And then just east of Carrollton, that's the only warning that's heading toward the northern Kentucky side of things at 71-75 split. The rain's already stopped back into Du Bois County. So we're almost to the end of the rain now. So we're able to see the entire storyline fall out in front of us here as we head through the next few moments. Ryan, do we have anything else on the Kentucky mezzonets there? I mean, the winds coming into play. I know it's about a 5-minute delay that we get on this, but I really just want to know some of that ground truth there. I know you're looking for that too. So.
We got some updates here. Taylor County, 35 miles per hour.
Okay.
Hart County, 33 miles per hour. Shelby County, and that's going to be the one that's really almost in Henry County here. That's at 30 miles per hour at this time. Also keeping an eye, by the way, if you're seeing what's behind me here, on this little notch near Willisburg. I don't think this is anything at this point, but we've seen so many of these notches tonight that we've kind of gotten drawn to them because that's typically where you would have some rotational trouble. New scan coming in here. This is just south of Willisburg, north and east of Springfield here in Washington County, Indiana. Not giving us too terribly much concern. It's getting ready to move out of our counties as we speak there, but we're watching each little tiny development in this line in southern Kentucky as it moves through.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Appreciate it. Let me go through the warnings as we stand right now. It's 22 minutes after 12 on this Memorial Day. Here we go with the warning we got for Adair. There's two sections here of the line. The Adair Greene Taylor portion of that. Severe thunderstorm warning out until 12:45 local time. 45 minutes after the hour, better way to look at it. Or 24 minutes left in the warning. The other one is Greene, LaRue, Marion, Nelson, Taylor, and Washington County, a little further to the north. Those two sections are the main ones that we're watching for the potential for any more additional wind damage potential that can develop on the line. Here's a live view into Bardstown. There's Yale Courthouse in the square, and you see the wind still blowing there. Now, obviously, we've had some heavy rain, but we had anything significant that was reported there on damage, so that's good. And most of that's already east of you now into Bardstown. It certainly stayed windy. In fact, Louisville's still gusting at 30 miles per hour, so it's going to stay breezy for a while, even beyond this initial line. But really, it's just a very small section on our northeast side here of Wave Country, and then the southeast section as we're watching, and that still has the tornado possible tag on it as you head toward Adair County, because that at one point was a tornadic supercell that has now just been absorbed into the line and just kind of hanging out and trying to blend in with the crowd. But we see you, and so we're watching it carefully as it moves in to that area there in southern Greene County and perhaps into Metcalfe County and in Adair County as well. So we'll have to watch that. If there's anything that probably would develop that would get our attention a little more on the severe wind load side of things, it would be whatever comes out of that section moving out of Metcalfe County as you head into portions there of Adair County here in the next little bit. I think that's probably our biggest concern spot right now will be here at the very last moment. Otherwise, I don't see much happening out to the north compared to what we did earlier. We've been trying to find reports to just get confirmation of all the data we're getting so we can let you guys know if you need to worry or not. And we have not been able to get anything confirmed on that. But it's worth noting that even as Ryan's been showing you, even with wind gusts in Louisville that got to 52 miles per hour, we've had trees that have either been knocked down, uprooted, tree damage in general. We've even had a possible brief tornado that may had developed there near Radcliffe. We'll find out for sure on that once we look at the data a little more, and the chief is up there checking it out to see if that's the case or not. We don't have anything confirmed, but we haven't had anything major on the wind fields that have shown up in general in the area that match the ground level. It's been relatively tame compared to even what we had earlier today, but still, having said that, it's still causing problems, still causing some damage in spots. Power's being knocked out, additional outages, and of course, we're still getting trees knocked down as well, Ryan.
Yeah, I've got a couple of damage reports here. The Oldham County EMA says multiple trees are reported to be blocking numerous roadways, such as Highway 329, that's near Crestwood, Highway 42, etc. Use caution while traveling. Also hearing from Horse Cave, which is in Hart County. They've got a roof blown off a carport and power lines down. This is near Highway 31W down that way. And finally, I do have some of the updated timings here of these storms moving through Adair, Taylor, Marion counties here. You'll notice that Mansville, Kentucky there is at 12:31 a.m. Edmonton down there at 11:30 Central Time, just because we're just south of where, of course, Eastern Time ends there and Central Time begins. But again, only about, 20 minutes at most left on this here, and then we'll be able to let you probably go back to regular programming after that point. So good to the last drop. That's how we do it around here.
Hopefully get everyone to bed, right?
Yes, including us.
Including ourselves. It would be nice. It would be nice. All right, but we still got to get through this. We're almost there. I know I feel like I keep saying that, but we've been at this now 3 hours for this
Yes.
this last round. So it's taken about 3 hours to go from, really, it wasn't even in our area at that point. We jumped on in advance of it when those supercells in West Kentucky to give you a big heads up. So really, it's only been about a 2.5 hour ordeal to really get this from one part of the area to the other, which isn't too bad there, right?
Yeah, brand new update on the tornado watch. They've
Yeah.
just cleared a ton of counties out of that. So now it's just Hart, Greene, Taylor, Adair, Marion, Washington, Franklin, Carroll counties underneath this tornado watch here that would go for about another hour and a half, but I think they'll probably clear off these counties here probably in the next half hour and just do some cleaning up there. So we're getting very close to the end. And one other thing I just saw come across the wires here, Governor Beshear has declared a state of emergency for the Commonwealth of Kentucky to make sure communities have the resources they need to respond to today's severe weather event.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of us from the first round that we had,
Yes.
there was so much wind damage we had today. Just about every county had wind damage. So I'm sure there was a lot of it, and maybe even around the Eddyville, Kentucky earlier too.
Owenton, Kentucky, 53-mile-per-hour gusts just east of our counties.
Okay,
there.
yeah, it's right in the middle of the warning itself, so that is going to help get closer to verifying what they're tracking there on the northeast side of that line. That's really worth mentioning. That's still the same pocket of wind that came through Oldham County, really through Louisville, and then eventually into Oldham County and is tracked right into the Owen County area. So it wouldn't surprise me that it's still just kind of a little bit of a notch there, or at least a higher enhanced wind field that's kind of maintained itself for a while and has kept on going, and is now get the 71-75 split. All right, now as we get down to the south, and you're still looking at wind, I still think this is probably the better way to kind of just focus on what we're tracking when it comes to the storm tonight, is constantly looking at the wind fields, because that's the big story that we're having here tonight. And still seeing strong winds, at least above the tree line here. But the problem that we have in this section of Kentucky from Washington County, Marion, and Taylor is you guys are kind of in between radar beams. You're not exactly close to the one in Louisville, and they're not exactly close to the one in Nashville. You're kind of in between. So we kind of get sometimes a bit of a skewing there on some of the higher wind reports. That's why we got so many wind instruments at the ground level to help us out in this area of Kentucky, because of that challenge we have with the radar. But so far, Ryan's been listed off some of the speeds have been roughly 30 to 40 miles per hour there. So that hasn't been terrible, but still can cause maybe a few limbs get knocked down as they move on by. Moving off to the south and east. Ryan, do we have an update on, if you get a moment, on power outages? I know we talked a lot about Louisville, but I've been curious if this area of Kentucky central Kentucky has seen increase at all.
Yeah, so I'm loading that graphic right now, and that map will show us, boom, that Washington County is now illuminated with 2% of tracked customers without power. Again, that's only 157 customers, because there's only 7,000 tracked customers, but this is a low population area, very rural there. Beautiful spot, though, near Willisburg, Kentucky, and Springfield down there. Love that part of the country. You'll notice down toward Marion County, they've got about 17 customers out. Taylor County, this is just hitting you, so you're probably not seeing much yet. And then let's get back to LaRue, about 13 customers without power. Hello, Hart County, this is near Munfordville. About 1% of tracked customers, about 10,000 of you are tracked, but only 152 of you are without power at this time. So we're not seeing these big, giant numbers lighting up all over the place like we did not only earlier today, but a little earlier tonight, because, of course, Meade County stands out. They were pretty hard hit by the second round this evening. And, of course, Louisville, I just got an update on that. We're still sitting at 39,188 customers without power in Jefferson County. So, again, we've added about 9,000 customers onto today's already significant power outage from the first round of storms here. So closing in on that 40,000 number here, Brian.
Yeah, and again, that's going to cause a bit of a strain on the crews. You may see a lot of trucks will be out and about the next few days coming from other areas of the Ohio Valley that may be coming to help us out, because there was quite a bit of tree damage that we had in the area. The most we've seen in a while into wave country, so I think it's going to be a bit of time. All right, a little bit of an adjustment on the warning. They're kind of just updating this. They've canceled Green and LaRue section of this on the northern side there, the little slither that they had. They cleared that out, but it does continue there for a small section on the southeast side. There was no tornado warning indicated on this, or tornado potential indicated, I should say, on this warning. It's moving fairly quick off to the east and southeast. Still got a wind gust potential. They could get close to about 60 miles per hour. Meanwhile, to the south, still have the other warning that's still ongoing. Both of these, by the way, set to expire in less than 15 minutes. So we're almost to the end of this particular round. Let me get you down to the one, though, that is located down across Greene County into Adair. Still a little bit of a notch. That's more still into Metcalf. I don't know if that's going to be anything major or not, or at least try to develop into something more than what is already out there. It's pretty unlikely. I think right now it's just a fairly broad rotation that's moving through the area, but that will likely stay right on the southern border, it looks like, there of Adair County as it moves off to the east. So, Ryan, this is likely one of those setups because of it being in the middle of the night, a holiday weekend. I think a lot of the damage reports that we likely got from this wave, we're just not going to get until tomorrow, a bit delayed. So we'll just have to keep you updated on this. But right now, we can tell you in the next few moments, we don't see anything overly alarming, which is good.
Right. It's going to take until daylight to see some of this stuff, right? You know, some folks may have larger property kind of behind their house and they don't notice that, oh, shoot, you know, a couple of trees came down until daylight really hits there. So that's probably part of the reason why we haven't seen a whole lot of reports from these storms, at least in the last, half an hour as well here. With that, I'm going to put on the MPing damage reports here so we can get some of the latest from our citizen weather observers out there with the MPing app that you can download for your phone here. And we do have one minor damage report, kind of a 1 out of 5 on the scale there. Possibly some trash cans displaced, small twigs broken off, that sort of thing. This is going to be just south of Springfield there in Washington County proper. And then we were talking about earlier in western parts of Marion County there. That was a 2 out of 5 damage report. And also in western LaRue County, a little closer to Magnolia, Sonora, that area, with some minor wind damage down that way. So we haven't seen much new from these reports other than really near Springfield here over the past few minutes. And even then, that was, kind of that 1 out of 5 designation there.
It's a great tool. I love we're able to get that stuff that you guys submit at home, and it really does help on getting some ground truth, because you can see at times it can be a challenge to get some of those measured wind gusts. So your reports do indeed help. The only thing right now that has any kind of spin to it is still located near Edmonton, as you head in the eastern side, not far from Metcalf and Russell County areas, heading right on the border there of Adair County. We'll be watching that. Also, maybe another small little notch that's near Columbia. Nothing overly concerning, but these are the kind of little items here that we need to just pay attention to as we head through the next few moments, as that kind of breezes on by at a pretty good clip. I mean, this is about a 2 to 3 hour loop, I believe. So this moves on by fast across the southern part of our viewing areas. This is the last, really, I think, of the potential damaging weather. We're almost out of the woods completely there as you move into Taylor County and into Adair County as well. Let me kind of get to a home view, kind of just show you the entire grand show here. that we're looking at, and then we'll get into even more wide review with Ryan coming up in a second as he kind of covers the entire region. If you have friends or family that are kind of traveling and going to different parks and camping, we'll have an update here in a second on things on how they look there for that area. Okay, here is the wide review, and again, Louisville is just a steady rain. We're out of the tornado threat. We're out of the severe threat altogether. In fact, we're moving out of that range. Still got just a few warnings here on the leading edge of this band of severe wind and rain, and then we really drop off. Look at the flood warnings are still out, though, in West Kentucky, where that tail portion of this is kind of dragging its feet, slowly working its way to the south. All right, Ryan, what you got for the rest of the Ohio Valley?
Okay, yeah, so these storms continue to push toward the east and southeast here. So we've got one big, massive line of storms now pushing through the Commonwealth and into Tennessee at this time. Kind of two sections of it, one heading eastbound toward the Lexington area at this time here. And those storms aren't particularly severe at this time. That's some good news. Bowling Green finally kind of in the clear from severe weather here. They had a little scare earlier tonight. There has been some damage reported around that area. We'll see when daylight hits, just what indeed has happened down there. A lot of that may be straight line wind, thankfully. And as we push down toward Nashville, notice they're getting ready to get hit by kind of the north to south sort of trending line, or part of this line of storms now moving into Middle Tennessee. And I do want to call your attention way over here to northwest Tennessee and northeast Arkansas, northeast to Jonesboro there. A pair of tornado warnings. This is what we call tail end Charlie, where you've got the very tail end of a line of storms that can have a supercell kind of embedded on it and then just travels along with the line there. Definitely a tornado problem approaching I-55 there. That is in the Missouri Boot Hill and extreme northeastern parts of Arkansas. So friends and neighbors that you might have near like Jackson, Tennessee, a little closer to like Nashville, it might not be a bad idea to text them and say, hey, heads up, here comes this big line of storms moving into your area. So that's the entire region, what we're seeing right now. We are literally at the very end of the severe weather here in Wave Country, thankfully.
All right, and you guys were like, well, why are y'all so on? Because we still got a couple warnings. So get to
almost there.
Almost there. Just smell the little slither right there in the southern part. But we want to make sure everyone's safe because we care just as much about anybody in Columbia as we do in Salem. So let's make sure everyone's safe. As we say, hopefully here soon. Good night, and let you guys get some rest. Enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. And tomorrow, just FYI, has trended better. There's one little lobe of moisture that tries to spin back down, but right now we're thinking that that will hopefully spin past this before we have to worry about it developing anything as we get into Memorial Day. So that's a nice little change of pace compared to the past couple of days. Let's hope that still is the case as we head into tomorrow. All right, I'll be here to let you know. You can see it right on the southeast side. Again, that's the extent of that line. That's most of your lighting out there. Scattered lightning strikes carrying all the way back into southern areas of Indiana. A lot of rainfall, though. This has really been producing a decent amount. I'm not sure where we're staying on the rain total here in Louisville. It's probably nothing, I would say, too crazy because it has been moving along. But I'm sure it's still enough that it's going to cause some high water issues in a few cases. Creeks and streams, as I mentioned earlier, we've got flood warnings are out for Rough River and as well as for the Green River. As it's been climbing out of its banks. So again, if you have any friends or family there, just make sure they're okay tonight. Hopefully they're not anywhere close to any of the rising water that is taking place. And as we get into our northeast section, still watching some of that gustier wind that moved right across Carroll County into Owen County. That's where we have the strongest right now. Some of those wind fields being found there all the way to the eastern side, I would say the western side here of Lexington, eastern side of Frankfort, all the way down to about the Campbellsville area. This part here in the southern part, still kind of dragging its feet just a bit, trying to get through it there. That's the last little section that we're going to be watching that still has the official tornado tag on it. As it, again, at one point was a tornadic supercell that moved through southwest Kentucky there for a while. So it's still causing us a little bit of concern there for maybe some brief rotation. Right now, we're looking to be in fairly good shape. All right, I see a Clover report, which we mentioned earlier about Clover report, had that strong wind in Breckinridge County. This is a report from earlier. This was at 10:35 Eastern time. A lot of power outages reported from that strong wind as it moved through that area, which is what we saw earlier. A lot of that stronger wind that when it was approaching the local metro really did have an uptick, and I think a majority of our wind damage reports are going to be from that area. All right, at least for the northern part of the line here, they're going to let this one go when we get to 1245. So this one is not going to be renewed. We just then have to wait and see what happens here with Adair County. Mr. Hoke?
Okay, US 127 in Frankfurt. Tawana Andrew flagged this for us. She's in for her morning shift. I've seen her twice today. That's never a good thing, right? That means that this has been a very long day for us here at the Wave Storm Tracking Team. But she just flagged this for us. Very heavy rain right now. US 127 in Frankfurt. So if you've got plans to be out driving this evening, if you've got friends or family working third shift, trying to get in, they're working the holiday. Hey, I've been there. I get it. We're here, right? But just make sure that you're being very safe on the roads this evening and using your headlights, keep those things on as well. That is the very heavy rain that we're seeing here in Frankfurt on the radar view here. No warnings associated with this, but quite a bit of lightning. We've seen some lightning strikes on that. Of course, that camera from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet there. But that's kind of the last gasp of the worst of the storms there for the Franklin County area, despite those not being severe. So now, Brian, all we have to do is get these storms out of Columbia, and pretty much we will be home free.
All right, so everyone in Columbia, just yell real loud to get out of here. Hopefully that'll help. All right, because we're almost there. Just got to get through this last little section, some pockets of a stronger wind that is tracking there. But I know a lot of you in Dare County are staying up, and you're waiting to see what gets still developed there. I totally understand that. You still got the severe thunderstorm warning out officially for 5 more minutes. We'll let you know as soon as they decide if there's going to be an expiration to it. We have not had anything confirmed on the severe side in either warning. Okay, so it's mainly just been the potential side that we're looking at. And really for this section of green all the way down into areas not far from Russell County there, a lot of that has just been cleared out as far as being out of the threat. It's really just the leading edge of this warning that we're watching, which is mainly Adair County. Even into Taylor County area, a lot of that is mainly aloft that we're looking at for some of these stronger winds. But right there in Columbia, still got to watch that. It's right there. Just a very broad little circulation there. It's pretty typical in that section of the line to see that. But it's kind of just drifting right over Columbia now. Could get some strong wind gusts maybe near Glens Fork. I can went and roll that out. Obviously, the winds roughly around 40 miles per hour, maybe up to 50 in a few cases. Louisville gusted to 52 earlier. Had a decent amount of reports there of tree damage. We added nearly 10,000 people to the outage list in the area. Okay, let's kind of play this out as look at some of the damage coming in our systems there. You all can't see this, but quite a bit of damage here in Bowling Green, looks like, Ryan. Some of the homes.
Oh, my gosh.
Down in that area. Bowling Green, of course, had a tornado warning earlier in that area. And it's we've had several reports of damage in a residential area. That looks like that is the case. We'll get all of this confirmed for you guys, but we'll have more on that coming up on Sunrise, I'm sure, as we get more data. But at one point, this is actually the line that was part of some of that activity that was back into Bowling Green that was kind of just blurred all together heading off to the east. Okay, well, this is the last of the warnings we got here. We've got 4 minutes left. It's worth mentioning another flood advisory just came out. That's going to be in southern Kentucky for Bowling Green. Wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be another issue we may run into. A few more flood advisories could get issued, especially in this area, Adair County. You guys have already had close to 5 inches past few days, so you've had a lot of rainfall. So even this, I would say ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, it's trying to move through now. It could cause some high water issues on the roadway. So again, hopefully you're not traveling at all. Some of you have no choice. I get that, but be careful if you have to venture out at all. Okay, let me show you the camera view. This is going to actually be into Bardstown again. Really, it's calmed down. We had a lot of lightning earlier, but right now it's relatively quiet. Now, as I mentioned, rain and wind taking place, which is always a good thing. Here's a wider view of the radar, taking you to our home view where we got moderate rain in Jefferson County all the way back into Harrison County, Meade County, Breckinridge County. Look at all the flood warnings that are out. Just about all of West Kentucky is under a flood warning right now, so that's a mess. We haven't had any advisories for that closer to home yet, but it wouldn't surprise me again. I could get an advisory or two that could get issued for some flooding. Okay, looks like a new warning. It's going to be Adair County until 1:30 in the morning for Adair County, but it's only a very small section of it. So let's get you to it. Let me show you where that is. Okay, here is the Gradyville area. And there is, again, Columbia's going to be right there into the middle. So it's the southeast section of it here. It's still got TOR listed as the possibility on it, mainly because, again, of its history that it had. But officially, that does not expire until for 45 more minutes. It will not go 45 more minutes for Adair County. That will be cleared earlier than that. So really for Adair County, I still think you're roughly in about a 15-minute window here, and you'll be out of the zone. But it's a little notch. It's a problem that we've had here for a while that just keeps showing up. that keeps triggering that warning to stay in effect. And again, that's going to be right there on that southern side as it moves out, heading into the southern side into Russell County and eventually heading into Monroe County. We'll be tracking that as it heads off to the east. Ryan?
Yes, and indeed, we are tracking the wind speeds within those storms as well here. So we can query near Glens Fork, I should say at this time, a 67 mile per hour wind speed within the storms. Again, the radar site is in West Point, Kentucky, and we're down here in Adair County. So that's a pretty big, discrepancy in distance there. So it's going to be a pretty high up radar scan that we're seeing this, of course, this wind data come from here just south and east of Columbia. This is near Glens Fork. They continue to advertise, the Storm Prediction Center does in their latest mesoscale discussion update I just got here, for this section of the world on eastward into eastern Kentucky. So we're talking literally just Adair and into eastern Kentucky here. The environment is still primed for these spin-up tornadoes within the line here. You can see there's this little bit of a hazard to even call it a couplet, but it's just a little area of concern. I don't even want to say it's a couplet at this point. Just where the wind's kind of kicking out underneath some slower winds just to the north near Columbia here. So we're going to continue to monitor that particular section of the storm, as well as one that's just east of Holmes, Kentucky, west of Dunville up here, just to see if that does anything. When we have these lines of storms that move through with the embedded tornado potential, you have to look for very fine, minute details in them. It's not as obvious as like a supercell tornado, much like we saw near Eddyville and parts of Dawson Springs a little earlier tonight, just north of that I-69 corridor there. So we'll watch this. Again, we are right at the tail end of this. This is literally the extent of our viewing area. Right here is just the rest of Adair County. So once Adair County gets into the clear, all of Wave Country will be able to be in the clear.
Okay, and again, in Columbia, I know you guys are probably hearing some of the wind. If you are in that area, it's safe to let us know. By all means, you can get a hold of us on our social accounts, and we'll be checking out if you get anything as far as any type of wind damage there into Adair. I know it's around the fringe here above your area, but we need to monitor that as it tracks off to the east, because again, there's several different colors here, right? We don't have the definitive, just straight line wind type of signal that we've had for a while located up here to the north. Now we're getting a little more of the notches that continue to show up as you head across Adair County. That's the reason why that still has that tornado possible tag on it. We've seen that several times tonight. Doesn't necessarily mean that one is going to touch down. Just means that potential is there, and certainly got to take that precaution, right? So we'll monitor that as it moves on by to the south and to the east. I thought this loaded. Hold on one second. Again, tracking. I don't know what the motion is on these. I would assume it's still about 50 or so.
The motion on these is east at 50.
East of 50. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm not getting. Let me see if I can get more data here. I think I may have. All right, there it goes. Now it's moving. Right there on the southern part, that is 50 miles per hour. That's going to put it out of the county line in about, I would say, 6.5, 7 minutes. It should be out of Adair County. So you're almost there. You're almost the other side of it. But still, I've got to keep an eye as we head into portions there of, well, Cumberland County will be down the road, but also Monroe County, Russell County, and right into the Metcalf zone. That is the zone we're watching for at least some of that potential, although Metcalf, you're about to be completely out of it. Thank goodness there's no tornado signature near Cyclone, Kentucky. That's good. And as we head toward Greene and Taylor, you're in that warning. I don't really see any strong wind that is alarming for you guys. So I really think it's just the section there of Adair County that we're looking at. I don't really see Greene and Taylor being heavily involved in that, but we'll watch it because it isn't a straight line. It's kind of wiggled. So that's the reason why we got to, monitor that field as it moves on by. Still getting winds, it's at times around 30 miles per hour here into Louisville. So it is going to stay windy throughout much of the overnight period. All right, let's get you back to the home view and show you again where most of the stronger winds focused just on the very fringes here of Wave Country. One little pocket, that's a little bit more of an enhancement. Heading, that's not too far away from Danville, I believe, is where that is tracking. So that's south of Lexington, out of our area. And then also, again, that little pocket, which is still blotchy there in Adair. And that's the reason why it took at that tour tag there. Ryan?
Okay, we're putting some towns on the map here and the times in which these storms will approach. This is very southeastern Adair County here, so this is a very fine, small area that I have kind of marked here. All of these are in Central Time, by the way. Glens Fork, 11:47 p.m. In fact, that's right now. It's moving in. Barnett Springs in the next minute or so. Gentry's Mill at 52 past the hour down that way. Crocus, Kentucky, 53 past the hour. Dunville is going to be at 55 past. And, of course, Russell Springs, where my stepmom was born, 57, I should say, after the hour. That's going to be moving into Russell Springs in Russell County.
Okay. Yep, that's the strongest that we see right now on the wind fields, moving through that zone. We do not have the tornado watch has been killed for a lot of areas. It's been cleared out over much of wave country, which is good. We only have just a small section there we'll be watching for. The warning, I think, was set to expire at 2 o'clock, I believe.
2 a.m.
That eastern side, maybe, I don't know if that was the same time or not for that Eastern Kentucky one. But either way, if you do have friends or family in East Kentucky that are traveling into the Lexington area, or if you have friends or family camping in this area, visiting, whatever the case is, still a severe threat that will likely linger. As Ryan mentioned, the Storm Prediction Center highlighted that may continue just a bit longer as we head into the overnight hours for perhaps an isolated case for a warning or two that could get issued from that wall there on the eastern flank. It's really calmed down. Adair County, Grayson, you guys are cleared. Hart County officially is in the tornado watch, but you're fine. You're not in any danger there. You're cleared from that. And Marion County, for the most part, you're out of it as well. And certainly Washington County, Kentucky, you're cleared. I would even throw Carroll in that. So I really don't see too many of our counties, Ryan, that are hugely in threat.
Yeah, just a point of clarification there on that eastern part of that tornado watch. Yes, the Lexington area is until 6 a.m. when that tornado watch expires. But again, you know, we're clearing these counties pretty preemptively here, and the National Weather Service will peel back on this quite a bit as well. But this will continue raging on eastward into eastern Kentucky tonight. So if you've got friends or family in the Lexington area, give them a text if they're up and be like, hey, storm's on the way here, and some of these are looking pretty iffy. But for us, this thing's wrapping up pretty quickly. You can here at the station, we can hear this constant rolling thunder. You can tell that we have the stratiform rain in the area, and we'll call it an inversion there because you get that rolling thunder sound. So you may hear that for a while tonight. If you have a dog that's very nervous with thunder like mine is, I totally understand. It's going to be probably a long night, some of that rolling thunder. This will fade out. This is going to take a bit more time. As these thunderstorms get further away from the main wall here of rain, they detach slowly but surely, and that just causes this section of rain to shrink down dramatically, and that will be the case very, very soon. And it'll happen faster on the northern side than it will on the southern side of that line, but that is still the main focal point. All right, looks like they extended that warning out just outside of Adair County, but that's going to keep going with a possible tornado tag on it into southeast sections here of Kentucky as you get into Pulaski County, and on the other side here, really, as you get into southeast Kentucky. It's going to run into perhaps a few issues. Madison County, Boyle County, may run into a couple issues where you could still get some damaging winds out of that cell that is still really the strongest as you move into the southern side there of Adair County. That's the area that we're still watching. So we have not had any reports of anything as far as damage out of that. Now, we do have a gauge there, but it's in Columbia, and we may not get data on that until a little bit later just because of where that's positioned at, right? 36 miles per hour there right now. All right, so that's been about the average that this line seems like it's had the past few moments as it continues to scan through across the area. Now, see, we're on the Louisville radar. Let me see if I can get us into Nashville's beam. I don't know if it'll go there automatically here. All right, kind of sort of does at the last minute. All right, right there, again, a bit of a wind belt in the southern side there, again, of Adair. Move into the east fairly quick, heading toward Monticello, Kentucky, and then Pulaski County. But we're almost out of this. We're almost out of this completely. I think overall, the strongest of the winds are really out of wave country. I don't really see anything that got a huge concern on this. But because we still have a warning out, we're just trying to make sure that we're keeping you guys informed down to the very last minute there. What else are you doing on a Sunday night anyway, right? You might as well just hang out with us, and we'll keep you updated on this, because some of you, I know, don't have power, and you haven't had power since 12 noon today, and you're like, I just want to know what's going on, and I just need to know so I can go to bed. I get that.
majority of you watching can do just that. You can go to bed, okay? So let me put on the radar, and this would include Louisville. We're fine here in Louisville. Just if you have no power, I know it's going to be probably a sleepless night, being humid outside, probably keeping your house quite warm, and you have that rolling thunder, but we're done, all right? We don't have to worry about severe weather for our area. This is mainly just just 1 or 2 counties right now, and really it's just mainly the very southeast side there of Taylor County and moving into Columbia at the moment. But quite a bit of lightning rain. I mean, you still see strikes all the way back to Corden. So,
yeah.
I mean, in this entire view, it's about 200 and so strikes that have happened. It's decent considering how much this is a weekend. Of course, a lot of that's in the front edge, but it really has dialed back a bit. So we've really lucked out. I think that the way this was ongoing just to our west, it was looking really, really especially west of 65. But so far, I think we've got the better end of the deal on that, other than this morning, of course.
And we've lucked out on flooding, too. To be completely transparent here, I expected to have multiple flash flood warnings right now. We just don't have that. The rainfall totals haven't been enough to trigger those. Litchfield's had about 2 inches of rain here in the last 24 hours. That could have been a whole lot worse, and you'll see just to their west, it was a little bit there. Munfordville, 1.8 inches. Campbellsville, 1 1/4, 1 1/3 in Lebanon, 1 1/2 roughly in E-Town, 1 1/3 in Hardinsburg. These are all Kentucky Mesonet rain gauges here. So all the gauges on the Kentucky side of the river are true rain gauges from the Kentucky Mesonet partnership there with Western Kentucky University. 3/4 of an inch from Shelbyville to about a 1/2 inch in the Louisville area. We can drill that down even more with the MSD gauges here. Again, live 5-minute data that we can ingest here into our graphics from the MSD website. And you'll see PRP there with about a 1/4 inch of rain. That's just since midnight. And guess what? The clock struck midnight about 54 minutes ago. So all of these are super fresh rainfall totals here just from the last hour or so. So we're not seeing anything heavy enough to cause flooding. And I think we really dodged that bullet too, Brian. Great news there.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go until the top of the hour, till 1 o'clock. So 5 more minutes. I think at that point, if we don't have anything that is overly concerning showing up into Dare County, I think we'll be fine. I think the bigger threat will be to the south and east of that particular spot. So we'll be watching it here for the next few months. We'll get another 5 minutes, and I think at that point we'll be in the clear. So just kind of heads up to our control room. We'll begin. We'll head you back over to programming again at the top of the hour at 1 o'clock. But for right now, we'll just continue to keep an eye on Adair as we still got that stronger wind moving in across that area, moving all the way to, again, Somerset, Kentucky here very, very soon. Hard to even tell the wind fields now just because we're so far away from the radar beam. We're almost basically in the Nashville spot here, so it makes it a bit tough to really pick out a lot of these strong wind belts to try to show up anything that's of interest. But let me at least get you down to the warning so we can keep an eye on it as it moves to the east and southeast there at about 50 miles per hour. Moving right over Columbia, and again, some gusty winds still being noted right over Columbia, Glens Fork area. We'll track that a little more to the south and east here very soon. I think it's only going to take just a few more minutes, and we'll be able to get that all the way to the other side here at Glens Fork. The amount of lightning is not overly concerning, too. That's really decreased compared to what we had earlier, but heading toward Montpelier and Joppa and Creecraft right there on 80 in Columbia. Still some very heavy rainfall taking place there. But again, this is moving fairly quick to the east there, and most of the wind is not even overly strong. Of course, this is pretty far from the radar beam. I think it's a little displaced where it is, but I think in general we're still looking at the southeast side there. All right, another report of power outages or wind damage that led to power outages. This is from 1054. That was roughly about 5 minutes, and this is Irvington and Breckinridge County. This is about 5 minutes before I believe that particular cell was heading toward Radcliffe that we had that. So that probably a spot that we'll have to look at a little more definitively after this is over, to look at portions there of Meade County, Breckinridge County, and to northern Hardin County. I think that's a spot to watch. I think it probably was the most concerning of the nights that we've had.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And just to kind of give you some broader perspective here, Kevin Harned chiming in here with, just sort of some reference here. Dawson Springs and Bowling Green were likely the hardest hit towns today by tornado damage, and both were also hit in December of 2021. That is unfortunate trivia, but nonetheless, those communities have been dealt a blow twice now, pretty hard one within 3 years of one another. So I think that's pretty significant. You don't consider Western Kentucky to be a place that typically is Tornado Alley, but unfortunately, that's what we've seen climatologically over the last 2 to 3 years here, Brian. Yeah,
that's something that a lot of people have been paying attention to. Everyone got nervous today when we saw Mayfield that was showing up with a tornado on the ground. And I think it was 3 times today that we had a signature. It was close to Mayfield anyway. That was a little concerning there. All right. So far, the strongest of winds, and I'll take us into a bit of a different view here. Hopefully, it'll show up. But it's really going to be just south of Adair County. I think that's where your strongest wind. So it's just outside of wave country right now. That's where your concentration of lightning is right now for the most part, is going to be on that southern side of Adair County. Let me try to get back to a different pan here. Hold on one second. And again, that's going to be the very far southern side here that we're looking at some of that stronger wind field. And that's going to put you just out of really the Cumberland County area. Here very soon as it tracks off to the south and east. Russell County pretty much out of it as well. So we're almost completely clear on that side of things. But if there's anything right now that still could be strong on the wind field side of things, it would be there. It'd be right at that point as we head into southern areas of Adair County. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I think we're about less than 30 seconds out from the top of the hour. We'll send it back to programming. We're going to still watch this in Adair just to make sure nothing develops. If anything does, we'll make sure to break back in. We'll let you know. We're going to be monitoring it, so we're not going to just leave you abandoned on that. But the rest of the area, the severe threat has ended for the area. Ryan?
Yep, and we've had no further reports of damage here. Thank you guys for trusting us. I know this has been a long day among 2 rounds of severe weather here. Been kind of a marathon for us, but your reports, your photos, if you've got any, send them into the Wave Weather app, and we'll be potentially able to show those on sunrise tomorrow morning. I know we'll have some more videos of some of the storms as they've moved through there as well. Just getting some new video, of course, from Magnolia, Kentucky. So thanks to all the viewers out there. We appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Tawana. Thank you, Kevin, who's on vacation. It's still helping us out with some reports. All right, so appreciate that. Thanks for trusting us. Stay safe. We'll have much more on the storm damage and reports coming up on Sunrise starting at 4:30. We'll see you then.